adventures, starting with American TV series. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 276 The Black Cloud Killer. As he walked, Locke pondered the intelligence he had just received. He hadn't expected that Catalia's whereabouts had also been discovered by the group, by the middle-aged man's men. But that wasn't surprising. After all, Catalia had come to Rio with Lorraine. She had simply not gone to the Blood Orchid farm with him. Unconsciously, Locke returned to the beach. Unhurried, he sent a message to Catalia and found a small restaurant for dinner. While eating, Locke gazed at the bikini-clad beauties on the beach not far from the restaurant. He felt his exceptional eyesight was a bit lacking. Most of the girls on the beach were average, but there were also some beautiful, curvaceous Brazilians and other attractive tourists, and Locke could easily distinguish them. Browsing the beach bikinis on a sunny day, these captivating figures truly brighten one's mood. In that sense, the people of Rio were truly blessed. Especially at the beach volleyball scene, Locke couldn't help but stare a bit longer. At that moment, the waitress delivering Locke's food wore a sweet smile. Seeing Locke's righteous expression, she suggested, "If you're interested, I can play with you after get off work." Locke turned to examine the waitress, who looked no more than 16, yet boasted a figure more voluptuous than many 20-year-olds. He smiled. "Unfortunately, I have something else to do later, so I can only reluctantly decline." "Then I wish you all the best," the beautiful woman observed with a hint of regret. "Thank you very much, though. Everything here feels so welcoming," Locke said, handing over a $5 bill. "You're really good at flirting with girls," the beautiful woman smiled, taking the bill from Locke's hand and pulling a business card from the back pocket of her denim shorts. "Remember to contact me. It's free for the first time." Shaking her head and smiling, Locke thought to himself, so this beautiful woman is a professional playmate. I wonder how skilled she is. After lunch, he called Vanessa. She had some results, but she needed to confirm them on site. After confirming the information with her, Locke left the beach and caught a bus. After wandering around for 40 or 50 minutes, Locke arrived near a bar. It was already evening. After a quick survey of the area, he entered. People were already starting to arrive. The interior wasn't anything special, just dimly lit, colorful lights and appropriate music. Patrons gathered in groups of 3 or 4. Locke ordered a drink at the bar. A moment later, a girl sat down next to him. "Hey, want a drink?" Locke greeted her with a smile. The boss's treat, there's no reason to refuse. The girl, Kataria, unceremoniously ordered a drink, and the two of them huddled together, whispering like newlyweds. As time passed, the bar gradually filled with more customers, and the atmosphere grew increasingly lively. A DJ with dreadlocks took to a small stage and fiddled with his equipment. The soft music was instantly replaced by a blast of high-pitched, rhythmic music, and the bar truly entered its revelry phase. "You got here pretty quickly." At that moment, Locke sensed a subtle venom, but not directed at him, but at Kataria beside him. He gestured to Kataria and glanced casually, quickly identifying the man. He wore a black coat with black slacks, a pair of shiny leather shoes, and, crucially, a slicked-back haircut. Then, Locke suddenly reached out, grabbed Kataria's shoulders, and pulled. With a snap, a bottle from the liquor cabinet beside her shattered. Kataria flung herself into his arms, and together they ducked behind a nearby sofa in front of the bar. Then, a quick glance revealed a black-clad assassin, gun in hand. Lifting her skirt, Kataria drew her pistol from her thigh holster and fired 3 times, forcing the man back. Glancing at the black-clad assassin, Locke smiled faintly. "Do you need my help? This guy doesn't look easy to deal with." With that, Locke gently nodded his right hand, and the black-clad man stepped down, exerting force, the muzzle of the gun moving with his body. But at that moment, as if tripped by something, his body staggered, and the shot he'd prepared was deflected. "Do I look like someone you can easily mess with?" Kataria sneered as she fired 3 shots in quick succession. The black-clad assassin shuddered, then quickly rolled and dodged behind the dense crowd. His shoulder was scraped, where his foot had inexplicably struck something, causing his shot to miss, despite the apparent absence of anything. "Then it depends on your performance. If you do well, I'll give you a raise later." Locke smiled faintly and quickly dodged to the side. Meanwhile, Screams erupted from the surroundings. Kataria and the black-clad man fired wildly, emptying their ammunition. The black-clad man took the opportunity to hide behind the bar while reloading his magazine. Just as he finished reloading and was about to stand up to attack, a wine glass flew out of nowhere and hit him squarely on the nose. The pain was intense, and even though he quickly closed his eyes, the wine still splashed into them. The man in black was also experienced. He ducked and ran without hesitation. Temporarily blinded, he was at a complete disadvantage in the fight. He would be foolish not to retreat. Catalia fired repeatedly, her rifle tracking the man's swift movements, shattering bottles on the bar counter before sending him scurrying away. The brief exchange made Catalia realize he was a formidable opponent, and the two coincidences were clearly Locke's covert attacks. She thought to herself, is this fun? If he's going to attack, why not just shoot him? Without hesitation, she followed a man in black. Leaving the bar, in the darkness, the two men made their way from the bustling streets into a secluded alley, where they finally stood face to face. Who are you? Where did you take Sefer? Catalia asked. There are some things you can't touch? Do you still think you have a chance to rescue your companions? You should worry more about yourself now. Little lamb, never challenge the authority of Old Wolf. Old Wolf? That's just what you think. As they spoke, the two men raised their guns and pulled the triggers almost at the same time. Bang, bang, bang. The two men fired while moving and dodging flexibly in the dimly lit streets, constantly making various moves to induce the other party to make wrong judgments, until they arrived at the rooftop of a 3-story building together. You just used the unique skills of the Mutual Aid Society, but your skills alone are not enough to destroy the Mutual Aid Society. There must be someone behind you. I think it's best to tell the truth. Chapter 277 God's Will. The unique techniques of the Mutual Aid Society that Catalia was currently using were taught to her by Locke. Locke's own development of firearms and artillery proved too complex and difficult to master, so he compiled a set of gunfighting techniques based on the Mutual Aid Society's arcballistics, which anyone working for him was eligible to learn. The black-clad figure across from Catalia was also using similar techniques, which made Locke raise an eyebrow slightly. It seemed there were others behind the Mutual Aid Society. Fortunately, he hadn't left any clues at the textile factory when he had previously dealt with them. It seems you don't intend to confess, the black-clad assassin said, staring at Catalia. I think you'd better prepare your last words now. Catalia threw away her empty gun and pulled a Beretta from her waistband. You've learned the techniques of the Mutual Aid Society well, but you're still a little behind, so, with that, the black-clad assassin also threw away his empty gun and rushed forward, pulling a pistol from his armpit. Bang, 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 the two sides exchanged fire again. Finally, Kataria felt a sharp pain in her right calf, causing her to cry out in pain. It was the black-clad assassin's final bullet that struck her. Immediately afterwards, the black-clad assassin, with a smug grin on his face, quickly approached, grasped Kataria's right hand, which was holding the gun, and raised it. Bang! With a dull thud, the black-clad assassin clenched his other hand into a fist and struck her in the abdomen. Don't think you can be complacent just by eliminating a few pawns of the Mutual Aid Society. You and those behind you will soon be found one by one. The sudden and fierce attack left Kataria momentarily exhausted. She could sense that the opponent was a master, but Locke's two previous backstabbings had bruised the black-clad assassin's shoulder and affected his vision. Unexpectedly, she still lost. Ultimately, Kataria's forte was stealth and sneak attacks. While she was not weak in frontal combat, she still lagged behind top-tier fighters like the black-clad assassin. With a large army and the powerful black-clad assassin, it was no wonder Lorraine had slipped and been captured. But Catalia didn't despair. Instead, she looked at the other man with pity, knowing that Locke had been observing closely and would surely strike at this point. What's that look in your eyes? Do you still think there's a chance for a comeback? The black-clad killer, confident of victory, his once cold face tinged with cruel excitement. It seems you're just like that woman we captured before, a tough-talking type. But that's okay. Once we bring you back to America, we'll have plenty of ways to treat you. I want to see who dares to stand against us. With that, the black-clad killer snatched the gun from Catalia's hand and pointed it at her chin. Come with me now. We still have one bullet in here. You don't have to go to all that trouble, Catalia said with a sudden smile. It's actually very simple if you want to meet the boss behind me. At that moment, The black-clad killer's hair stood on end, as he noticed someone suddenly appearing behind him. "So there's someone behind the mutual aid group I wiped out." As the words rang out, a hand gripped the black-clad assassin's neck, lifting him into the air. "Actually, I'm curious about you, too. No need to go back to America. I think you should tell me everything you know right now." The voice sounded youthful, but then a sharp pain shot through his legs. It was Locke who had shattered the black-clad assassin's knees with a kick, and then he saw a strikingly young and handsome face. "Who are you?" the black-clad assassin asked, gazing intently at Locke. "Shouldn't I first ask who you're working for?" Locke said, lifting Kataria's injured calf and brushing it with his palm. The bloody wound healed immediately. The black-clad assassin's pupils shrank at this, and he looked at Locke with a look of disbelief. "So it's the Ying family. You work for Carrot. I heard Deborah say she doesn't seem to like this cousin who's always competing with her in every way." By capturing his divine consciousness, Locke instantly grasped the identity of the man behind the other party. He had never expected that the financial backer behind the Mutual Aid Society was actually the Ying family, or rather, several other established American families, including the Ying family. While the textile factory ran its own assassin business, it was merely an organization providing thugs to these established families in exchange for a certain degree of protection. Otherwise, the textile factory, with only a few hundred people at its headquarters, wouldn't have been able to maintain an intelligence network comparable to that of the Continental Hotel, which controlled the global assassin trading platform. This black-clad assassin was once one of the textile factory's elite assassins, later recruited by one of Deborah's cousins to work for them. "Since we're acquaintances, how about a game?" Locke said casually, but he was still processing the information he had just received and considering how to deal with this man. "Who the hell are you?" At this moment, the black-clad assassin's expression turned to horror. He hadn't said anything, so how could this guy already know everything? And the instantaneous healing of that woman's injuries just now, that was simply not a human power. The pressure emanating from him was like the man he had once seen, said to be Carlotta's great-great-grandfather. Could this person, like that adult, look 20 years old, but actually be over 100? As he pondered this, Locke couldn't help but raise an eyebrow at the information he had just received. The more he learned about the world of American TV series, the more it felt like this wasn't an ordinary world. It was obvious that the assassin in black knew only so much. To learn more, he had to start with the Ying family. "How about leaving him to me, boss?" Catalia, now recovered from her injuries, looked at the assassin in black with a dangerous look. "Whatever you want to do with him, but don't delay too long. There's still work to do. We need to rescue Lorraine before the people in the base notice something's wrong and move away." "She's suffered a lot," Locke said, then called Vanessa. "I won't delay. I just want to do it myself." Catalia picked up her gun from the ground again and looked at the black-clad assassin. "There's still one bullet left. Perhaps this is God's will. You dare to go against us now that you know this? You're really asking for your own death. You will surely die a horrible death. Your family and friends." Seeing this, the black-clad assassin couldn't help but curse. Bang! With a gunshot in the darkness, the black-clad assassin's curses suddenly disappeared. Catalia put away her gun and looked at Locke. "What should we do next, boss?" "Let's go. The new car Vanessa prepared for me should be here. Let's go pick up Lorraine." Putting away his phone, Locke pointed again, and the black-clad assassin's body turned to ash. Chapter 278 Accident. After taking Kataria to the curb and waiting for about 10 minutes, a Hummer pulled up in front of them. The door opened, and the alluring, dazzling Vanessa stepped out, glancing at Kataria. "Have your tastes changed?" Vanessa looked at Locke with a look that seemed both irritating and mocking, yet also suggestive. "Catalia, my subordinate, the one I assigned to Lorraine." Locke didn't explain, simply introducing her briefly before looking at the Hummer. "It's a nice car, $200,000, I paid for it with my own money," Vanessa snorted, not doubting it. Kataria's looks and figure were acceptable, but her skin color certainly wasn't Locke's cup of tea. "Go back and tell Damon, the company will reimburse you," Locke said, getting in the driver's seat and motioning Vanessa and Kataria to get in. "You rich bastard, are you so great just because you're rich? Do you think you can boss people around just because you have money? Well, if this guy wasn't rich, he wouldn't be so easily manipulated simply by working day and night." Vanessa couldn't help but roll her eyes at Locke, and she and Catalia got into the car one after another. "This isn't a black car, is it?" Locke chatted casually as the car started. "It's just a privately modified Hummer. If you want something more powerful, you can also choose an armored vehicle. They're all military vehicles that have been used in missions into the slums. This one is just ordinary stuff," Vanessa said. Locke nodded. "In Brazil, the military has frequently cooperated in operations against the White Camel Mountain traffickers, even bringing military armored vehicles into the city to engage in battles like they were in a war. Unfortunately, even after such operations, the traffickers are still alive and kicking." The Hummer sped out of the city, onto the Cross-Sea Bridge, and into the territory of the nearby city of Niterói. According to the information just received from the Black-clad assassin, Lorraine was being held by a team of military personnel in a stronghold in the mountains near this city, awaiting the arrival of the Americans to take her away. After driving through the night, Locke and the other two finally arrived near the outpost. It sat by a small river, surrounded by a luxurious villa surrounded by barbed wire. It looked like a wealthy vacation spot, but the sentry towers and armed guards gave it a bleak atmosphere. After using magic to scout the outpost, Locke turned and asked, "Have you arranged the support personnel? They're nearby, but they're not many. How are you going to rescue them?" Vanessa lowered her telescope. "Not just the main building, but the two adjacent buildings should also have quite a few people inside. There's also a camp a few hundred meters away. You two stay outside to observe and coordinate, arrange for the support personnel to be in place, and I'll handle the rescue," Locke said, quickly sneaking into the outpost. Just like that, Vanessa was startled, then saw Locke quietly sneaking into the outpost and approaching the main building. "I didn't even alert a single person." Vanessa watched as Locke swaggered into the room, seemingly blinded by the sight of the well-trained military patrols, who failed to notice. She was speechless. After entering the main building, Locke detected the faint scent of blood. Following the scent, he found a room where a bearded man was torturing a disheveled woman tied to a chair with a drill. Without hesitation, he stepped forward, grasped the bearded man's neck, snatched the drill from his hand, and thrust it directly into his mouth, flipping the switch. He drilled a hole through the bearded man's head. Locke examined Lorraine, whose face was swollen. "This is the first time I've seen you so miserable, Lorraine." Locke examined Lorraine's injuries. They looked horrific, but fortunately, they were not irreversible. However, Locke didn't intend to send her to the hospital. Instead, he cast a healing spell, and Lorraine's injuries healed at a visible rate. However, she was still a little weak from the prolonged torture. "I'm sorry to disappoint you, Master," said Lorraine, who had just recovered. "I was caught by mistake. I'll definitely seek revenge later." Lorraine stood up and glanced around, searching for a weapon. Seeing that Lorraine was staggering even as she stood, Locke handed her a pistol and gestured for her to lie on his back. "Revenge is for later. Now it's time to leave." "I didn't expect you to be so reliable in this crucial moment, Master," Lorraine teased. The control magic Locke had cast on her had only altered her perception of Locke, not her personality. Having experienced such a situation, she showed no sign of nervousness. Lifting Lorraine onto his back, Locke glanced over. Vanessa was observing them, and Kataria had already set up her sniper rifle, ready to support Locke. Locke had no intention of engaging in a bloodbath. He wanted to take Lorraine back first. Once back in the United States, he was considering whether to try to elicit information from Deborah. Completely unnoticed by the carefully deployed patrols and sentries, Locke had reached the edge of the stronghold. He only had to run less than 10 meters to escape silently. At that moment, a small door to Locke's side and rear opened, and a yawning soldier appeared. Kataria, who had been keeping an eye on the nearby area, almost instinctively pulled the trigger. The faint crack of a silenced gunshot was followed by a scream from the soldier. "Damn it," Kataria muttered a low curse. The soldier's yawn had tilted his head back slightly, causing the bullet, meant for a headshot, to graze him, leaving a trail of blood on his head and causing him to scream. Had Kataria acted even slightly later, Locke would have decapitated the soldier with his shadowless divine blade. This unforeseen accident exposed Locke, and without hesitation, he flicked his finger, sending a shower of blood spraying from the soldier's head. There was no point in hiding at this point. Locke quickly reached the rear entrance of the stronghold. Just then, a soldier rushed over, rifle in hand, and immediately collapsed with his head tilted. This was Kataria's masterpiece. Locke sped up, unlocked the rear entrance with a spell, kicked it open, and dashed out of the stronghold. At the same time, the alarm sounded in the stronghold, and with bursts of shouts, The soldiers inside ran out one by one. Kataria called out several leaders who were clearly commanding officers, then sheathed her sniper rifle and quickly got into the Humvee. Vanessa, already in the driver's seat, started the car and rushed towards Locke. Chapter 279 Take It Back. Get in the car. With her superb driving skills and Catalia's cooperation in dispatching the soldiers blocking the road, Vanessa drove the Humvee to Locke. She and Catalia simultaneously opened the passenger and back seat doors. After placing Lorraine in the back seat and closing the doors, Locke climbed into the passenger seat and started the car again. By then, several vehicles from the base were approaching. Vanessa swung the Humvee in a swift arc, and Locke now had an AK in his hands. A burst of gunfire erupted, leaving bullet holes in the windshields of the two pickup trucks ahead. Screams echoed from within the vehicles as they crashed into the nearby trees. We can't go back the way we came. They have a camp nearby that can provide support. They should have blocked the main road by now. Locke raised an eyebrow. He didn't mind someone blocking the road, but judging by Vanessa's words, she seemed to have arranged for someone to help. Sure enough, she then said, I've arranged for someone to meet us at the river ahead. As she spoke, Vanessa spun the steering wheel, sending the Humvee careening onto a nearby side road, the car jolting. The path was winding and complex, and a careless move could easily lead to a fall into a shallow pit or crash into trees or rocks. But Vanessa, true to her skill as a driving goddess, consistently managed to avoid these dangers. The people behind us are catching up, and there are also people ahead of us. Kataria, observing from the backseat, suddenly spoke up. Locke said nothing, simply thrusting the muzzle of his AK out the window and firing two bursts. A cloud of blood erupted from the drivers of the two pickup trucks approaching head-on, and they staggered off the side road. The soldiers panicked, and the Humvee whizzed past them. Locke and Kataria took advantage of this moment to mercilessly fire, leaving behind screams and a splatter of blood. Look out, RPG! Vanessa noticed a soldier on a pickup truck charging out from the opposite direction, a powerful weapon slung across his shoulder. She immediately stepped on the accelerator, concentrating on disrupting the enemy's aim. Locke curled his lips, aimed forward, and pulled the trigger. Bang! The soldier carrying the RPG was hit in the arm. The arm holding it gave way, and the finger pressing the trigger trembled, sending the bullet through the small rear window and directly into the front cab. Boom! Amidst a violent explosion, the entire pickup truck rolled over in flames. Vanessa swerved, swerving past, smashing head-on through the enemy's blockade. She breathed a sigh of relief. Pulling out her phone, she dialed a number and asked directly, "Where are you?" "There's a large group of enemies behind us. We'll be at the designated location in 3 minutes," the other side replied quickly. Vanessa glanced ahead. They were already close to the river. In the darkness, Locke could see a special warfare boat speeding towards them in the distance. After the vehicle pulled up to the riverbank, the special operations boat spun around and also stopped. Its bow-mounted Gatling gun swung to focus on the group of soldiers following behind. The next moment, the barrels of the Gatling gun spun at high speed, and a barrage of fire instantly enveloped the group behind them like a torrential rain. Simultaneously, two twin-mounted M240 machine guns opened fire. Amidst the deafening roar of gunfire, screams erupted from the pickup truck that had just emerged from the woods behind Locke and his men. The speedboat's relentless, suppressive fire, drawing countless bright lines, left the enemy no chance to breathe, plowing the area ahead over and over again. Boom! A truck finally exploded, a vast expanse of flames erupting in its wake. The special operations boat picked up Locke and his men, sweeping through, leaving behind a forest littered with bullet holes, corpses, and the blazing wreckage of vehicles. Watching the scene, Locke couldn't help but smile. This overwhelming barrage of fire was a very American trait. After the speedboat sailed along the river for a distance, Locke asked Lorraine, "What are you going to do next?" "We still have to deal with the aftermath first." Lorraine thought for a while and said, "The people who captured me were from the Brazilian military. After they captured me, they arranged for someone to check my identity information. My fingerprints and DNA are now on file with the CIA. The news will sooner or later reach the CIA. I need to prepare in advance and arrange for some people to move, and several bases need to be adjusted. As for these people who captured me, do you have any clues? They don't seem to be working for the Brazilian government. These troops were privately mobilized by the people behind the scenes through their connections. The other party has connections with several large American conglomerates, and they should be going for the newly mature blood orchids. I don't know how the news of the planting site was leaked. You have suffered a big loss because of me, Locke said. They are preparing to ship those newly mature blood orchids back to the United States. I don't plan to leave the things to them. I must snatch them back, then I must be included, Lorraine said. Don't you need some rest first? Locke glanced at Lorraine. His injuries had healed, but after so much torture, the physical weakness and mental exhaustion wouldn't go away so easily. A few hours of rest will be enough, Lorraine said, leaning back in his seat. Those guys are tough, and neither am I. That's fine. According to intelligence, the blood orchid should be transported from the warehouse to the airport tomorrow morning. It's possible they'll act sooner after getting the tip-off. I've already arranged for someone to monitor them. Whatever they're planning, we can intercept them along the way. Knowing Lorraine had made up his mind, Locke didn't care about having one more person to watch. He'd already planned to retrieve the blood orchid by himself, so one more spectator wouldn't hurt. He wasn't interested in the blood orchid, but in letting the enemy know he wasn't going to be a pushover. This would deter them from making a rash move, and then he could take them down back in the US. The reason for intercepting them along the way was simple, like choosing between an armored truck and a bank vault. Any experienced robber would choose an armored truck over a vault. Even if there were ambushes along the way, they couldn't be set up everywhere. Furthermore, even with the most elite vehicles and escorts, robbing the vault directly would be easier. After all, the security level of the two attacks was completely different. Furthermore, the blood orchid was currently located within a Brazilian military base. A direct attack on the barracks would have a significant impact. Regardless of whether Brazilian officials were aware of the incident, they would undoubtedly investigate thoroughly, potentially even involving the United States. Locke himself wasn't particularly concerned. He had numerous spells concealing his identity, ensuring they wouldn't know who had attacked him. However, the attackers would undoubtedly link it to Lorraine, which wouldn't be of much benefit to Lorraine. While Lorraine's criminal organization seemed remarkably secretive, if they provoked a full-scale investigation by the authorities, they would undoubtedly suffer significant losses. Chapter 280. What can be done? The speedboat stopped at a riverbank. In the distance, a simple village with wooden roofs nestled amidst the green jungle could be seen. The village was largely isolated from the outside world, and the people's lifestyle seemed largely unchanged from centuries ago. Locke could even make out women bathing naked in the riverbank in the distance. Village residents, young and old, stood on the shore, some swimming. Nice scenery here, Vanessa said, glancing at Locke with a half-smile, observing the surroundings through binoculars. It's a good time to cultivate your emotions, Locke shrugged. A car will be here to pick us up. I've arranged a private plane. You and Catalia will return to New York. I'll handle the rest. He had called Vanessa because he didn't have a comprehensive intelligence network in Brazil. With this local tyrant, he could always find some leads. There was no need to keep her here and take any more risks. As for Catalia, Locke assigned her a mission. He hadn't yet decided how to deal with Carlet Yowing, whether to negotiate with him through Deborah or to eliminate him directly while he was unaware of his presence. But he definitely had to first determine his current location and monitor his movements. The sky gradually brightened, and before he knew it, it was already morning. Locke had already reached a wooded area on the slope of a hill. Seeing Locke just put down the phone, Lorraine asked, "Any questions?" The escort convoy's departure time remains unchanged, but the escort will now be the most elite armored personnel carrier battalion stationed there, Locke said. Armored vehicle, Lorraine glanced at the weapons lying around. These alone probably won't be enough to deal with armored vehicles. I can have some weapons sent over. Do you prefer the McDonnell Douglas SMA, the Iron Fist rocket launcher, or the Stinger shoulder-fired rocket? It's a small problem, leave it to me. It's just an armored battalion, a piece of cake for me, Locke said. Just watch from the side. If there are any that slip through the net, we'll take care of them. Lorraine knew Locke had some amazing abilities, but she still felt a little skeptical. How exactly would Locke plan to deal with an armored battalion? However, she was smart enough not to question it too much. Common sense would have it that Locke was insane to do such a thing, and he didn't elaborate. Even though Lorraine was under his control, he kept to himself. Choosing among the prepared firearms, Lorraine picked out an amp. Since Locke had just said he only wanted to deal with the slip-through weapons, this was the one she'd use. Glancing at Lorraine, Locke could see she wasn't entirely convinced of her chances of taking on the armored battalion alone. He offered a soothing reassurance, "Don't worry, I never do anything I'm unsure of. You're my boss, of course I'll listen to you, but if we can't, then retreat. It's not like we already know their identities, we can always get back at them later." Lorraine, feeling the situation was difficult to handle, could only tactfully explain her opinion. More than 2 hours passed. In a wooded area on a hillside by the road, Locke stood on a tree branch, watching from afar. The group now came into view. "These Brazilians are working hard, I'm sure they've received a lot of benefits," Locke observed the group along the road. A large group of motorcycles preceded the armored battalion, and behind the armored vehicles, trucks carried the troops. This deployment was undoubtedly a significant investment. Shortly after arriving in Brazil, Locke had found the location and dispatched his most powerful assassin. Carlot Yawang hadn't changed his original plan and had significantly increased his escort, both as a demonstration and a test. "Given the forces over there, they likely already know your identity," Locke told Lorraine. "Since he wants to test your boss's abilities, then show them what you can do. At this rate, they'll be there in about 15 minutes." Locke hopped off his book and stood by the roadside, the magic ring on his finger already glowing faintly. "The convoy ahead is an elite semi-mechanized unit. Our individual weapons can't do any real damage to the armored vehicles, but I can knock off the front wheel first, giving you an opening to attack," Lorraine said after observing the team. Although she didn't know how Locke would react, she intended to offer whatever assistance she could. "Shoot off the front wheel." That's a skill worthy of Lorraine. Locke knew that the wheels of the armored vehicles were made of solid rubber, making complete destruction impossible. Furthermore, the exposed wheels were protected by specialized protective measures. A sniper rifle wasn't an anti-material weapon. Depending on the type of armored vehicle in the group, to achieve this, one would have to accurately strike the lower quarter of the wheel, causing it to deform and then, using the vehicle's inertia, cause the wheel to detach. "Don't worry, observe the situation and watch me," Locke replied. As the convoy gradually approached, he said, "Let me greet them first." With that, Locke raised his hand and pointed. A terrifying bang followed. The front-wheeled armored personnel carrier, weighing at least 10 tons, was flipped over and rolled backwards. The devastating blast sent the center armored vehicle flying back 5 or 6 meters, crashing into nearby trees. The massive blast sent the soldiers, stretching over 20 meters in length at the rear of the convoy, tumbling to the ground like a field of wheat swept by the wind. The commotion naturally caught the attention of the motorcycle group leading the way. They slammed their brakes and called for support. Locke, clearly unable to stand by and watch, pointed again. This time, there was no explosion, but an invisible blade that swept across. Puff, puff, puff. The entire motorcycle group ahead seemed to be cut in two, nearly all torn apart, their bodies splattered with blood. Seeing the initial explosion, Lorraine thought she was hallucinating. She knew Locke hadn't prepared any RPGs. There was no fire from the explosion, yet the devastation was unwavering. The soldiers on the motorcycle group ahead fell like wheat being cut, as if Locke had simply snapped his fingers and reaped the lives of hundreds of soldiers. It was simply unimaginable. But then there was a surprise, because if Locke really had such power, then what could he not do in this world? Chapter 281 Aliens. Then, in Lorraine's vision, Locke approached the rear door of the armored personnel carrier. As if with a casual tug, the locked door flew open with ease. Inside sat 4 armed soldiers. Seeing Locke, they opened fire without hesitation, and the next moment, each of them had a bloody hole in their forehead. Nearby stood several high-strength insulated boxes with transparent glass, revealing the contents, ripe blood orchids. With a wave of his hand, Locke loaded the blood orchids from the 3 armored personnel carriers into his own dimension. Then, he noticed the soldiers on the trucks behind him, shouting in unison, aiming their weapons at him. Da-da-da, numerous soldiers raised their weapons and fired without hesitation. The next moment, invisible blades appeared. Unlike the previous sweep, countless blades appeared from all directions. Then the intense, dense gunfire ceased abruptly, and every soldier's head fell to the ground simultaneously. The entire convoy of hundreds of soldiers was now completely devoid of a single survivor. Lorraine was at a loss for words as to how to describe the scene before her. As an ace agent, she could confidently claim to have witnessed every spectacle, but what Locke was doing was beyond her comprehension. Boom, and the next moment, her perception was once again shattered. The entire convoy erupted in flames. Before she could even scan for Locke, her voice echoed, "The job is done. The blood orchid has been retrieved. We should return." Turning, she saw Locke, who had somehow managed to cover the distance of over 200 meters. He carried nothing on his person, but she had experienced so much in such a short time that she didn't have the energy to question him. She simply nodded, sheathed her gun, and left with Locke. The blazing flames behind them were intense and widespread, but in less than 10 seconds, they vanished completely, as if they had never appeared. All that remained was a patch of damaged pavement left by the initial explosion. As for the armored personnel carriers' vehicles and personnel, there was no trace left. Walking through the familiar yet unfamiliar streets of New York, the reason it felt unfamiliar was because Locke had arrived in a new mission world. This newly refreshed mission world was so tempting that Locke didn't bother leaving Brazil. He simply handed the blood orchid he had just recovered to Lorraine and began his mission. "Sir, this gentleman," Locke said as he surveyed his surroundings, pondering how to complete the mission, when a beautifully dressed girl in her early 20s greeted him from a distance. "Hello." Locke turned and nodded. Seeing Locke's expression, the girl's eyes lit up. She paused for a moment, then, as if remembering her original plan, pleaded, "Sir, could you please watch my car for me? I'm just buying some flowers. Don't let anyone scratch it. There are too many bad kids around here." Last time, it was scratched in just a few minutes. The girl held her car keys in her hand, and a red convertible was parked nearby. Following her direction, Locke saw a flower shop and nodded, "Okay, thank you very much, you're such a nice person." The girl gave Locke a nice guy card and walked towards the shop. Locke leaned against the car, pondering how to proceed. This mission seemed simple to him, and he was eager to enter this mission world because he thought he could get many of the things he wanted. 5 minutes passed, and the girl still hadn't emerged. Locke wasn't surprised, but simply pondered how to proceed. Boom! At this moment, a loud noise from the sky interrupted Locke's thoughts. He looked up and saw a black dot with a tail in the sky. This black dot was like a missile, coming towards him with a sharp sound of breaking through the air. He stepped back suddenly, and then the black dot quickly fell in front of Locke and smashed into the sports car he had just leaned against, turning the red car into a piece of scrap metal. Frowning, Locke saw through the billowing smoke a large disc with a diameter of more than 1 meter, like an alien flying saucer, or rather, an alien flying saucer. The cover on the flying saucer opened, revealing an alien who looked like a squid, wearing a black suit and glasses, with his tentacles covering his mouth. The squid-like alien, about the size of a palm, coughed briefly, turned his head, and waved a suction cup tentacle at Locke, greeting him. "Sorry, Earthling, there's been a little accident." With that, the alien's tentacle manipulated the flying saucer, and it soared into the air again, quickly vanishing from the sky. Frowning in the direction the saucer had vanished, Locke looked toward the now completely wrecked sports car and spotted a book on the ground nearby. Locke couldn't understand the words on the book, but there was a business card tucked inside, Jack's Valuables Consignment Shop, with its address on the back, in New York. Just then, the girl who bought the flowers ran out. Seeing her sports car, she exclaimed, "Oh my God! What happened? My car is in this state. What on earth has happened?" The girl was furious. She'd only bought it less than 2 months ago, and with the damage it had sustained, it didn't need repairing, it could be sold for scrap. Putting the business card away and closing the book he couldn't understand, Locke spread his hands and said, "Although it's a little unbelievable, your sports car was actually smashed into the state by a flying saucer that fell from the sky? Do you think I'm stupid?" The girl glared at Locke. "Your joke isn't funny at all." "Well, if you really want to know what happened, you can check the surrounding surveillance cameras." Locke pointed to a camera on the road. "This is a busy neighborhood, so there are surveillance cameras." Seeing the girl so sad and seemingly unwilling to cause trouble, Locke didn't plan to stay any longer and decided to leave. Just then, a van drove up quickly and stopped beside her. 4 men in black suits got out and asked the girl, "Miss, is this your car? Who are you?" The heartbroken girl asked rudely. "We're from NASA. A spacecraft that passed over New York City crashed nearby. We hope you can cooperate," a man in a black suit said, showing an ID. "I was just in the flower shop, but he must have seen something," the girl said, pointing at Locke, who was about to leave. The 4 men in suits all turned their gazes towards him. Locke, feeling troubled, considered whether to leave quickly. "Sir, I hope you can cooperate with us," the 4 men in suits approached, sizing Locke up. "Who are you?" Please show me your ID. Sorry, I didn't see anything just now, Locke shrugged. Then he noticed the four men in suits' expressions change, and they dispersed, as if to surround him, their hands reaching into their arms. Chapter 282 Black Super Police. Are they pulling out their guns? Noticing the holsters under the four men's arms, Locke felt a sense of unease. Petrified all, without hesitation, he reached out and froze the two suited men in front of him. What did you just do? At this moment, the other two men in black had already drawn their silver pistols and pointed them at Locke. They had also noticed something was amiss with their companions and shouted. He cast Petrify all again, freezing the other two men in black suits. He looked them over and sighed. He hadn't expected to provoke the most powerful organization on Earth. The third action team, led by Ross, encountered an incident, and the surrounding surveillance footage suddenly failed. However, we've been able to track down a specific individual, Locke Lee, an alien from planet Aqua, who arrived today. While investigating a malfunction in the Squidman's aircraft, the third action team clashed with him and became completely paralyzed, as if petrified. Their equipment was also taken. Excellent. Bring him back, I'll leave this to you. After reviewing the remaining surveillance footage, the director gave the order to the man in a suit wearing a Z-shaped badge. Understood. The man in the suit, known as K, took one last look at the footage, nodded, and left. Meanwhile, Rock had already arrived at the store according to the address on the business card, and once again thought to himself how unlucky he was to have run into the Men in Black. Men in Black was a popular sci-fi film from Rock's previous life. It tells the story of a group of special police officers who secretly protect Earth and deal with various alien incidents. While Earth in this world may seem ordinary, the special police possess a vast amount of advanced alien technology. These black police are comprised of elite individuals from around the world. Selected from various countries, they work in local branches, handling local alien incidents and controlling aliens living on Earth, acting above and beyond the government. The black police operate only by code names, and all their operations are kept secret from the general public. They override morality and law. Anyone who comes into contact with them during a mission will have their memory wiped, even after a black police member retires. Jack, the owner of the shop featured on the business card, is also an alien. While ostensibly a pawnshop owner, he secretly handles stolen goods for aliens and sells some alien technology. According to the contract between the Black Police and the Interstellar Alliance, aliens are not allowed to possess advanced technology on Earth. This world's Earth serves as a refugee camp and political sanctuary for many alien civilizations, and even as a place where some interstellar families exile erring family members. Aliens who arrive here are supervised by the Black Police, restricted to specific areas, and prohibited from possessing advanced technology without the Black Police's permission. But there will always be those who break the rules and demand superdetch. Jack's secret business is selling prohibited superdetch items to those who need them. So, he can buy many things that aren't even available on Earth right now, which is Locke's ultimate reason for wanting to come to this world. As for the system quests, they only reward 1,000 potential points anyway, so just do them casually. Even if you fail, it's no big deal. Do you have a portable supercomputer or information on artificial intelligence? Locke asked directly. You know quite a bit, Jack smiled slightly. Are you new here? Who introduced you? That's not a mandatory question. Locke shrugged and showed an ID. This was the system-provided proof of his alien status, and also served as Locke's identity in this world. Of course I have all these goodies, but do you have money? Jack asked, staring at Locke. You have to show me the stuff first, Locke said. Okay, Jack took out a remote and pressed it, and the shutters outside the shop lowered. The ordinary counter in front of Locke fell to the ground, replaced by a high-tech platform. Jack rummaged around and pulled out a palm-sized object resembling a cell phone, presenting it to Locke. A small supercomputer from Elta Technology, with built-in artificial intelligence. Price? 300,000 Federation coins, 100,000 Federation coins, Locke frowned. Although the system had granted Locke an alien identity, it hadn't paid him a cent. Federation coins weren't Earth currencies like the US dollar, they were universal, issued by the Interstellar Alliance. Seeing Locke's expression, Jack said, Don't think it's expensive. The items here aren't available through ordinary channels on Earth. A price 5 or 10 times that is perfectly normal. I don't accept Earth items. This resource planet is only estimated to be worth 1 million Federation coins. Earth is only worth 1 million Federation coins. Locke raised an eyebrow. Federation coins seemed quite valuable. In that case, gold and other items would be worthless. Furthermore, from this simple information, it was clear that this world was incredibly complex, definitely a highly technological realm, and the film only showed a tiny fraction of it. Thinking of this, Locke's face darkened, and he began to wonder what he had on hand might be worth more. The memory eraser and laser gun he just snatched from the 4 black special forces might have some value, but if he sold them here, he'd probably make them his enemies. That wasn't a good option. He'd only taken them to analyze their components and see if he could make them himself. If the black special forces came knocking, he'd definitely have to negotiate their return. Who knew how many super tech weapons the black special forces possessed? If they were to seriously confront him, his limited strength wouldn't be enough. Seeing that Locke didn't look wealthy, Jack's smile faded. If you don't have money, don't waste my time. Wait a minute, do you have something small that can hold a lot of stuff? Locke suddenly asked tentatively. Why, you want the folding space gear? That's not something you can afford, and I don't have it in stock, Jack said. Let's talk about the price first, Locke said. Folding space technology is only possessed by a very small number of advanced civilizations, and it's all high-end. Even the most common one, a mere 100 square meters of folding space technology, large enough to fit a miniature spaceship, starts at 50 million Federation coins, Jack said. I can help you reserve it, and I'll charge a 10% handling fee. Really? How much is a 10 cubic meter folding space device worth? Locke couldn't help but ask directly. 10 cubic meters? That's much cheaper. After all, such a small space can only hold a few common items. It only costs about 2 million Federation coins. If you want to reserve one, you'll have to pay a 20% deposit. Reserve? No, I want to ask if you'll take it. At this, Locke smiled. Chapter 283 Miniature Galaxy. You actually have space folding items, they must be smuggled goods. Jack became interested as soon as he heard it. Take it out and have a look first. Locke directly took out a backpack and placed it in front of Jack. You can try it. This was a backpack that Locke made when he practiced alchemy before, and it was cast with a permanent traceless extension spell. The space inside was about 10 cubic meters. A backpack. Jack took it and examined it, saying, your folding space item is a bit large, not very convenient to carry around, and its value is also much lower. The maximum I'll give you is 100,000 federal coins. 100,000 federal coins, you profiteer, are you kidding me? Locke glared at Jack. You just said it was around 2 million federal coins, that's the selling price, Jack shrugged. And your backpack itself is quite large, making it inconvenient to carry. Only folding space items the size of a ring, necklace, or watch, easily portable, would be worth 2 million federal coins. Even so, this backpack is worth at least 1.5 million federal coins. 150,000 federal coins. Are you kidding? Jack sneered. If you can come up with 150,000 federal coins, you might as well just use 2 million federal coins to buy a better one. Your folding space item itself has a very narrow range of applications. Really? You just said that folding space items are only possessed by a very small number of top interstellar civilizations, and each one is very valuable. Why are you saying something different now? After some haggling, even using divine consciousness to test the other party's limits, Locke finally sold the space backpack to Jack for 700,000 Federation coins. After the deal was concluded, Locke immediately spent all of the 700,000 Federation coins. First, he bought a supercomputer and artificial intelligence. Then, without selecting items, Locke went straight for a vast amount of high-tech information. Locke's requirements required information based on Earth's current technological level, extending all the way up to the beginning of interstellar travel. Scientific knowledge is acquired incrementally. It's impossible to start studying advanced mathematics right after graduating from elementary school. The information Jack brought out was largely long outdated, and according to him, worthless, yet the sheer volume was enormous. The catalog of various technologies alone was enough to keep Locke occupied for days. To quickly absorb this knowledge, Locke even purchased a learning device. This device directly instilled the required information into the mind, but such a cramming process would be extremely stressful, and whether one could truly grasp and apply this information effectively depended on the individual. All of these items combined had completely wiped out Locke's 700,000 Federation coins. Each of these outdated technologies was cheap, but added up to a massive sum. Adding the learning device, The price was reasonable. Both parties felt they had made a killing. Locke had acquired a vast amount of super technologies, and it was uncertain whether he could fully digest and master them in the next 20 or 30 years. Once mastered, however, it would be a significant boost to his future. For Jack, the trade of this knowledge was a zero-cost transaction. The outdated technology was already worthless, so he simply copied it all for Locke. He didn't lose anything, pocketing hundreds of thousands of Federation coins. This profiteer looked at Locke with a warmer gaze. He wondered where else he could find such a good sucker. As for what Locke intended to do with his technological knowledge, that was of no concern to him. Money really doesn't go easy, Locke said, his eyes brimming with envy as he listened to Jack's continued description of the super technologies. He also gained a vague understanding of the prices. The pistol used by the protagonist in the movie was sold by Jack for 60,000 Federation coins, though it would only cost a few thousand through legitimate channels. 1 million Federation dollars would drive the 250,000 aliens living on Earth crazy, but for a higher civilization, it's probably just a white-collar worker's annual salary for 8 or 10 years, just like it takes hundreds of millions of t-shirts to buy a single airplane. To put it bluntly, it's just exploitation of a lower civilization by a higher one, only the disparity is much greater. There are so many good things, Locke had to reluctantly give them up for now. He was truly broke. He had his own dimensional space in a giant suitcase, and the space backpack was really just a practice project. It was also a blessing that there were no magicians in this world, otherwise this space backpack, with its relatively low alchemical requirements, wouldn't have been able to exchange for so many goodies. Besides space items, other magical alchemical items, like necklaces with built-in armor spells, were worthless to Jack, because items with built-in energy shields weren't rare and weren't exclusive to a few higher civilizations. For now, the technical data he had was enough, and if he wanted to buy more, he'd better save it for later. Friend, come find me here next time you need something good. Seeing that Locke couldn't squeeze any more money out of him, Jack lost his earlier enthusiasm for sales and left the shop in a state of disarray once again. After packing up the supercomputer and learning device, Locke left the shop and stood beside the busy street. Ordinary people on Earth in this world knew nothing, living their lives in silence, just like those in American TV series. Locke had seen all 3 Men in Black films, though not all of the anime. Judging by the mission assigned by the system, he was about to experience the plot of the first film. The first film primarily focused on a Zerg vanguard who arrived on Earth to seize King Acheron's miniature galaxy. Locke's mission was to prevent the Zerg from obtaining it. The so-called miniature galaxy was actually a necklace made by using space folding technology to transform hundreds of thousands of energy planets into a fingernail-sized necklace. In the film, King Acheron wore it around the neck of a cat. Acheron was also part of the Ankali Federation, and King Acheron was also a member of the Ankali Federation's royal family. The Ankali Federation is one of the leading civilizations in the universe and the absolute main force in the war against the Zerg. Possessing this necklace would be equivalent to owning a galaxy containing hundreds of thousands of energy planets. Naturally, Locke covets such a precious necklace. However, it's not so easy to obtain. Anyone who covets the miniature galaxy will face the wrath of the Ankali Federation. The miniature galaxy is extremely important to the Ankali Federation and a strategic item, its preciousness undeniable. After reviewing the plot, Locke discovered a potential opportunity to seize the miniature galaxy before it. After the death of King Acheron, the Ankali were searching for the miniature galaxy, unaware that it was clearly hanging from the cat's neck. This way, Locke could exploit the information gap and seize the miniature galaxy beforehand, then strike a deal with the Ankali for something he desires. As for taking it for himself, Locke has no such presumptuous intentions for the time being. In the plot, the Ankali Federation even plans to destroy it and Earth to prevent it from falling into the hands of the Zerg. If he were to take it away and be discovered, with Locke's current strength, he would be doomed. They really wanted to destroy the planet directly. Locke's current strength couldn't even withstand some weapons of mass destruction. Nuclear bombs were just conventional weapons in his eyes. Even if he moved, he couldn't escape the attack range of a planet-destroying weapon. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 284 Pacific Prison. In fact, In addition to the miniature galaxy, there are many things that can be used in Men in Men, Black. For example, the villain scientist who appeared in the second film can be used to study anything for you for money. In the movie, he actually smashed a spaceship out with a hammer. The whole process took only 10 minutes. Iron Man is just a little brother in front of him. There is also the time turner in the third film, which can reverse the past and change what has happened. However, Locke did not have much thought about this time turner. It is okay to collect and study it, but forget about using it directly. Changing the past is a very dangerous thing and will lead to terrible disasters. The reason for this is that he lacks strength. As the old saying goes, his virtue is not worthy of his position. Before his strength reaches a certain level, it is difficult to escape the consequences of being toyed with by time and fate. Locke Lee, put your hands up. Just as Locke was contemplating this, a solemn voice suddenly rang out. I'm Senior Detective K of the Men's Special Unit. Put your hands up now, and don't make any movements that could mislead me. I'm here to inform you that you've assaulted a black detective and are under arrest. If you've seen the video, officer, you'll know it was your people who initiated the provocation. Unless there's clear evidence linking me to the incident, I'm not obligated to cooperate with your questioning, but that doesn't excuse you from attacking the Men's Special Unit and stealing their equipment, Kay said gravely. The one who had come to arrest Locke was none other than Kay, one of the two protagonists in the film. He had been a legendary figure since the Men's Special Unit was established in 1950. While the members of the Men's Special Unit might not know the chief, they could not fail to know Kay. So what? Given the circumstances, my actions were at best a minor violation. According to the relevant agreements between the Interstellar Alliance and Earth, you can detain me for a maximum of 1 to 3 months, Locke declared confidently. As for Locke's understanding of the relevant agreements, it was naturally thanks to this system. As he spoke, Locke glanced at the elderly man beside Kay, who looked to be in his 60s or 70s. He was Kay's current partner, Jay. The timeline was still in 1997, meaning there were still several months before the story began, and Kay hadn't yet changed his partner. Jay was the codename for the elderly man before him. Another protagonist was also chosen by Kay to be his partner and trained after Jay's retirement. You seem quite knowledgeable, Kay said, a little speechless at Locke's calm demeanor. While the Black Ops police displayed remarkable prowess against alien criminals, given their cosmic status, aliens held a significant psychological advantage over Earthlings. In the universe, Earth was a mere insignificant entity. Any alien on Earth was a living, breathing giant. Even if a crime was committed, the Black Ops police wouldn't dare impose punishment beyond the prescribed limits, or even resort to any underhanded tactics. It was like Americans viewing small African countries as country bumpkins. Any American committing a crime there was treated with extreme caution, fearing any misunderstanding. The technology on Earth is too backward. The aliens who can come to Earth across countless light years are forces that the Earth cannot resist. These people in the Black Special Police Team are unwilling to offend aliens unless necessary. Locke's attitude is actually very normal. Kay has seen such faces countless times in his decades of work. Locke is still very gentle, but it does not mean that he has no temper. He also has his own support. With just a gesture, Locke didn't even have the chance to react. The protective magic was broken in an instant, and then he felt numb all over his body, and the whole person lost consciousness and fell to the ground. I can only detain you, but I will set the time at a maximum of 3 months, Kay said to Locke. This alien from the Blue Water planet is truly unique, a rare species with an exceptionally powerful body. His DNA is similar to humans, yet his abilities are over 10 times greater. Theoretically, he could easily lift several tons. Furthermore, his cells contain a special, advanced energy. Despite his human-like appearance, he's a walking energy bomb. Someone reported to Kay. Have you confirmed the method he used to petrify the third action team? Kay continued. He just casually pointed his finger, and the third group recovered. We didn't find any weapons on him, so it might be an innate ability. Another problem, sure enough. Let's put him in jail as per regulations. The sentence is only 3 months. After all, I can't go back on my word, Kay thought for a moment and said, find a way to put him in with some violent aliens, but his crime is only considered a minor offense, and through mental and psychological testing, his threat rating is either aren't any aliens in that prison who can compare to him. The threat rating used by the Black Special Police is based on the standards of the Interstellar Alliance, which categorizes destructive power into 9 levels, from SSS to F. Even if an Earthling tries hard, They will never reach F level. C level can survive in space for a short time, and B level can withstand the defensive weapons of small spacecraft. At most, they would suffer a minor impact from the laser rifles commonly used by the Men in Black. On many primitive planets, such a being would be worshipped as a god by the natives. The legends of the gods in the world of the Black Special Police may have some connection to aliens. I know. We'll just pick the most formidable aliens among the petty criminals, Kay said, rubbing his brow. Honestly, if it weren't for his connections, the organization that established the Black Police, which reassured some alien forces, Earth would have long since become a playground for aliens. You're about to be taken to prison at sea in the Pacific Ocean. You'll spend the next 3 months there, and we'll keep an eye on you even after that, the Black Police escorting Locke warned him. I don't mind. As long as it doesn't bother me, you can keep watch as long as you have enough manpower, Locke said with a smile. Locke's words left the Black Police speechless again. There are approximately 250,000 aliens on Earth, the vast majority of whom are displaced wanderers, a smaller number of whom are interstellar explorers tired of exploring, or unfortunate exiles. Among these aliens, some are unruly and will cause all sorts of trouble. The Black Police are already busy dealing with these alien incidents, so how could they have the energy to keep a constant eye on Locke? To combat extraterrestrial criminals, the Black Ops team established 2 prisons. A light crime prison in the Pacific and a heavy crime prison on the Moon. The former holds aliens convicted of less serious crimes and provides them with instruction on how to integrate back into Earth. The latter, on the other hand, houses extremely dangerous criminals, including some of the most wanted interstellar criminals. Locke arrived at the light crime prison in the Pacific, where over 1,000 aliens are held for crimes ranging from trafficking in contraband banned on Earth to disrupting public order and tampering with bank accounts. Locke will spend the next 3 months there. Chapter 285 The background of the Black Special Police. The light crime prison in the Pacific Ocean is arguably the most densely populated area of alien life on Earth. Upon entering, Locke was greeted by a myriad of bizarre alien creatures, a veritable gathering of monsters. The prison's overall shape resembles a gourd, with the entrance located at its mouth. While seemingly small from the outside, the interior is surprisingly spacious. Along the way, Locke observed numerous aliens of varying appearances, dressed in custom white prison uniforms, chatting and laughing, their expressions relaxed and at ease, seemingly unlike those incarcerated. Following the lead of the black-clad special police officer, he received his badge and was taken to a 4-person cell. The cell wasn't cramped, measuring at least 90 square meters. Besides 2 bunk beds, it also had a television. The programming on it didn't seem to be from Earth, but rather from an alien world. There was also a couch, a coffee table, a pool table, and even a coffee machine. If human prisoners had seen this, they would probably have been envious. After Locke entered, the black special police officer issued a few warnings and then turned away. He greeted each of his 3 roommates, each using their Earth code names, and their appearances were quite distinctive. After the greetings, Eagle returned his gaze to the newspaper. Grizzly observed Locke puffing away on a cigarette. Meanwhile, Rabbit hopped off his bed and offered his hand. "Nice to meet you, newbie. How were you captured?" Locke bent slightly to shake Rabbit's hand. Because he was so short, he looked like a boy of about 10. "They used intimidation and physical threats to coerce kind aliens into paying protection fees, and were sentenced to 3 years in prison," Rabbit said. "Protection fees?" Locke looked at Rabbit and the other 2, thoughtfully asking, "Is there still a way to make money?" "It sounds interesting, but how did you get the money?" The rabbit's appearance was quite deceptive. He looked like a cute little boy, likely attracting the attention of many 7- or 8-year-old girls walking down the street. The contrast between a guy who seemed to thrive on cuteness and a bully who collected protection fees was striking. "I'm just using my outer skin now, just for living on Earth. You wouldn't think we really look like this, would you?" "My skin is high-end," the rabbit laughed, looking quite amusing, but then he put his hand to his neck and zipped it up like a zipper, revealing his true form. Locke was disgusted at the sight of the rabbit. Underneath the rabbit's skin lay countless black tumors the size of soybeans, a monstrous mass. This was the rabbit's true appearance, and the mere sight of it made him nauseous. "Your skin is quite nice, too. It must be high-end, right?" the rabbit said, looking at Locke. "You seem to be quite wealthy." With that, the bear and the eagle stood up, vaguely surrounding Locke. "It seems you're planning to return to your old ways," Locke said, raising an eyebrow at the three of them. "That's right, newbie." With that, the three men simultaneously shed their disguises, revealing their true identities. "Now, you have two choices. One is to obediently hand over the money you have and recognize us as your boss, and we'll take care of all the chores from now on. Otherwise, we'll show you what a prison bully's job really is." "Isn't a prison bully's job to serve the newbie well?" Locke smiled and shook his head. "You're so arrogant. You look dangerous." "HMPH, the three of us are all F-class. Kneel down and call me Daddy." Bang, bang, bang. 10 minutes later. "Daddy, have some tea." Rabbit respectfully held a cup of brewed black tea and approached Locke, who sat on the sofa with an ingratiating look on his face. Next to him was Eagle, who was carrying a variety of pastries, and Grizzly, who obediently gave Locke a leg massage. After all, a formidable appearance doesn't guarantee a strong fist. Under Locke's loving guidance, the three men quickly understood who was boss. Then, they quickly explained their origins. They usually roamed around Earth, making a living by extorting aliens on Earth. Most of the aliens on Earth had come here to beg for food after failing elsewhere, and they weren't particularly powerful. While the three rabbits' danger level was only F, it was already a level many Earth aliens couldn't reach. Together, they were cautious, targeting only the poorest aliens, often maintaining a commanding advantage, raking in around 200 Federation coins a month. Federation coins could be exchanged for a considerable amount of money on Earth, allowing the three to enjoy a comfortable life on Earth until they were arrested by the Black Police and imprisoned in the Pacific Prison. To put it bluntly, their status among aliens was that of small-time thugs running errands for a gang, scraping a living on this backward planet. They didn't have many Federation coins, but they did know a lot about aliens. Through their stories, Locke learned that the Black Police also had connections, specifically, K's powerful connections. When Earth joined the Interstellar Alliance in 1950, the Black Police were established. Their mission was to respond to extraterrestrial incidents and conceal the existence of aliens from the general public. The Black Police were wealthy. Just looking at their equipment, their personal laser rifles and memory erasers alone would cost tens of thousands of Federation coins, even if purchased through legitimate channels. While the film doesn't show a large Black Police presence, the reality is that Earth's entire Black Police force exceeds 100,000, with tens of thousands more in the field. Otherwise, managing over 200,000 aliens would be impossible. The equipment alone for these field operations would cost hundreds of millions of Federation coins, not to mention other equipment. Rabbit even told Locke that the Black Police had purchased a moon, Mars, Jupiter, and dozens of other planets surrounding Earth. These details clearly demonstrate the Black Police's immense wealth, primarily due to the backing of the Satar civilization, one of the largest in the Interstellar Alliance. The Satarian civilization often unconditionally provides Earth with various types of advanced equipment, and occasionally provides large sums of money. The reason why the Satarian civilization is willing to give so many good things is because of K. Chapter 286 Informant. The Satarians, remarkably similar in appearance to Earthlings, frequently provide substantial financial and material assistance to the Black Police, primarily due to Princess of the Satarian civilization, K, who fell in love with him. Thanks to K's presence, Earth immediately received a significant amount of resources upon joining the Interstellar Alliance. This is why, despite not being the director of the Black Police, K holds the most prestigious position within the group. Through K, the Black Police, in close contact with the Satarian civilization, receive a steady stream of aid, affording them the luxury of advanced equipment and, when necessary, diplomatic support. Otherwise, such a backward civilization would have no one to care about them, let alone maintain order on Earth. These events aren't fully detailed in the film, leaving Locke reeling. The overall atmosphere of this alien prison in the Pacific Ocean is quite peaceful, as the three rabbits would rank high among the inmates there, given that it's only for minor offenses. Aside from being unable to leave, any reasonable request is generally met, and the food is plentiful, with only the finest meats, vegetables, fruits, and beverages. They sat down at the table with their chosen food. The steak was delicious, the bread was made with the finest flour, and there was mango juice, freshly squeezed from mangoes. It didn't feel like prison food at all. The conditions here are quite good. If those human prisoners knew, they'd probably be envious, Locke said, shaking the mango juice in his hand. Only 1/5 of it was left. As a true lackey, Rabbit saw that Locke's juice was running low, glanced over his shoulder, and then snatched it from a passing alien. The alien had a large head and a small body. He took one look at Rabbit, realizing he was a well-known bully in the prison. He dared not say anything, but went back to get another glass of juice. Rabbit curled his lips, turned around, and offered the juice like a treasure, saying, "Boss, try this watermelon juice and see if it suits your taste." Locke didn't refuse. He wasn't one to be righteous, and he comfortably enjoyed the offerings of the former prison bully. After dinner, Locke didn't join the fun and go out for some free time. Instead, he returned to his room, retrieved his learning device from the dimensional space, and began studying the scientific materials he had just purchased from Jack. The learning device was essentially a gray helmet that automatically adjusted to the size of his head when worn, making it extremely convenient. Locke began by studying knowledge that was about 20 years beyond Earth's current state. He simply selected the information and input it into the learning device using the supercomputer. The learning device allowed for sleep and wake modes. Sleep mode was less stressful, but the learning speed and effectiveness were slightly slower than wake mode, so Locke chose wake mode. As the device activated, Locke felt a sudden fog in his head, followed by a flood of information that seemed to be crushing his mind. He felt his brain feel like it was being crushed. He concentrated and tried to read the information, but the speed was so great that he had no time to comprehend it. After trying in vain, Locke could only endure the discomfort and try to relax. Locke's extraordinary mental strength came into play at this moment. After the initial discomfort, the discomfort gradually subsided. Having just arrived in this world, he was suddenly confronted by an alien spaceship and questioned by the black agents. Due to his assigned alien identity and the movie-inspired image of the black agents as antagonists of aliens, Locke didn't have time to think carefully and attack the black agents. After petrifying the 4 black agents, Locke realized there was no need to panic. However, the plan was already done. He confirmed that the plot was still several months away and made a plan. He would go to Jack's shop and buy the items he wanted. With this knowledge in hand, the next step was to study. The location of study was the same, whether outside or at the current Pacific prison. There was even a benefit here. In his free time, he could assume the alien identity and interact with other aliens, chatting about alien gossip and gathering information through alien programs. Locke found it much more comfortable to be here than outside, surrounded by so many friends who were sensible and well-spoken. Even when tired from studying and needing to relax, he could come to the activity room and play cards with the aliens, letting these honest aliens share their savings. Watching his empty wallet gradually fill up was a blissful experience. 3 months later. He's finally gone. Sob. What's there to cry about? I lost over 10,000 Federation coins and didn't cry. Why are you crying? Wow. I can't help it, that bastard is finally gone. That was my last bit of private money, and he just took it all, and got out before me. You still want to win it back? Nonsense. I've decided to quit gambling. With many of his alien brothers in prison tearfully bidding him farewell, Locke departed the Pacific Penitentiary and boarded a Black Ops helicopter. He took one last look at the place before leaving, feeling a little reluctant. These people were truly so kind. Knowing he needed money, they gave him their already limited Federation coins. I'll remember you all. You're all the most lovable aliens with cosmic values. These most lovable people donated a total of 60,000 federal dollars to Locke, giving him the opportunity to put some of his newfound knowledge into practice. What a brotherly gesture. With this thought in mind, Locke called a helicopter and returned to downtown New York, landing in front of a strange-looking building. Hello again, Agent K. Locke met K again, though this time he was a little more polite than before. After all, this man had been living off an alien, so he had to show some respect to his senior. Life is full of reunions, some we welcome, some we don't, K said, pulling out a form. This is the final release document. Because you've committed acts that threaten Earth's stability, you can't leave New York for the next 6 months. Only after the probation period is over can you resume your free movement on Earth. No problem. I just arrived on Earth, so I'll just stay in this world's most developed city for a while, Locke shrugged. Since the plot itself took place in New York, he had no intention of leaving. When Locke signed, Kay continued, how about becoming our Black Special Police's informant? Not only will you get paid, but you can also earn federal currency based on the importance of your intelligence by providing valuable information. Chapter 287 Prison Break. The Black Special Police often recruited aliens as informants, using them to gather information. Rabbit had previously mentioned this to Locke, so when Kay brought it up, Locke wasn't surprised. "How much Federation dollars are you paying weekly?" Locke asked directly without hesitation. "Daily wages won't be in Federation dollars, but in US dollars. I can give you $10,000 per week," Kay said. "As for Federation dollars, you need to provide valuable intelligence." Neither the Black Special Police nor Locke cared much about Earth's currency, but Federation dollars were different. The price of Earth's package was 1 million Federation dollars, meaning the combined value of Earth's minerals and resources wasn't much higher than that. The Federation dollars in the hands of the Black Special Police were like foreign currency in the East during the 1970s and 1980s, extremely valuable. Crucially, they didn't even have the qualifications to operate as sweatshops to exchange for foreign currency. The Federation dollars they had were all funded by Kay's connections. Therefore, simply paying their informants in Federation dollars was out of the question. However, Earth's currency, not to mention the resources the Black Special Police secretly controlled, could even be printed in real money. To protect Earth's stability, the Black Police rely not only on their own strength but also on gathering relevant intelligence. Preemptive intelligence allows for better preparedness for crises, and only then can the Federation currency be used. Locke is well aware of this, but he was just trying to bring it up, hoping for a better outcome. After Locke agreed, Kay created a profile for Locke and gave him a watch that allowed him to contact the Black Police and had a location tracking function. Locke couldn't find out if it had any other functions. The informant role offered more flexibility. Locke's alien identity was a bit of a ripoff, but both the Black Police and the aliens assumed he was an alien. Otherwise, there wouldn't be an Earthling with a danger level E. Shortly after Locke left, Kay received news that an alien had escaped from the Pacific prison. Who escaped? Kay wasn't too worried. After all, it was just the Pacific prison, and the aliens held there weren't any formidable opponents. There were 4 of them, codenamed Octopus, Rabbit, Eagle, and Grizzly. Interesting. 4 escaped, and 3 of them were your cellmates, Kay muttered to himself, looking at Locke's photo in the file. Locke's cell was arranged by Kay, otherwise, there would be plenty of empty beds and even rooms at the Pacific Penitentiary. How could Locke have been caught up with 3 bullies? It wasn't that Kay didn't want to assign him a more powerful cellmate, but such individuals were held in the lunar prison, and Locke's crimes could only be held in the Pacific Penitentiary. Of course, in Kay's view, all of this was in the past. Now, he instinctively suspected Locke's hand in this, but after just 2 brief encounters, Kay knew that questioning Locke directly would be completely clueless. Activate satellite positioning and track their location. Kay didn't bother Locke further. The aliens in the Pacific Penitentiary were equipped with tracking devices, and they couldn't be removed with bare hands. At least, Kay didn't think Rabbit and the others could do it. Normally, tracking someone down wasn't difficult. Soon, the computer displayed a map with 4 red dots, presumably located along the Mexican coast, heading towards the United States. "Let me take these lost little guys back home first," Kay said, getting up and leaving the office. On the US-Mexico border, a shabby van wobbled through a tunnel. The driver, a white man in his 50s, sipped his beer and shouted, "Once we get through these mountains, there will be no more border patrol officers. Are you poor bastards ready?" The back of the van was covered with straw, and a dozen Mexicans gathered together, whispering, "My cousin went there 6 years ago. He says he's now a mechanic at a car repair shop and makes a lot of money every month. My son works at a newspaper and just got a green card 2 months ago. His wife is pregnant, and I'm going over there to take care of the baby. You're so lucky. You'll have someone to take care of you. I went over there just to make money." The driver could hear their whispers. A group of people with different aspirations, ready to head to the United States to find their ideal life, didn't care what life would be like in the United States, because he knew it wasn't a paradise either. Otherwise, why would he still be doing his job? As long as they passed this section of road, they would reach the stronghold, where they could collect the money. $300 per person, 16 people would make $4,800, which was no small sum in those days. Even robbery wouldn't bring them that much. It would be enough for him to live a carefree life for a while. Police. The driver was just feeling happy when he suddenly saw several lights flash up ahead. Then, more than a dozen armed police officers rushed out from both sides of the deserted road and surrounded the truck. "What an unexpected encounter, aren't we, stowaways?" the leading sheriff shouted. "Get off the bus. You've reached your stop. Don't try to resist," And don't do anything that might put us in danger, or our officers will shoot." With a police officer pointing a gun, the driver could only grimly exit the bus. Then, the officers roughly pried open the compartments, and 16 Mexican stowaways were herded off one by one. The sheriff counted the number of people, blew a whistle, and said to the driver, $300 per stowaway. "You're a seasoned officer, and you've made a lot of money before. That should be enough to cover the fine." As a border officer, he was well aware of the price of smuggling these days. A smile played on his face, thinking that if he could squeeze more money out of this driver, he'd definitely get a big bonus this month. Just then, the sound of another vehicle approached, stopping not far away. Several officers gathered around and saw two men in black suits and sunglasses emerge. Where did this psychopath come from? He's wearing sunglasses so late at night, the sheriff thought, and stepped forward to ask, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" Immigration Bureau, 5th Precinct. "We've received a tip-off that there are 4 dangerous individuals among this group of stowaways." Kate took the lead and showed the sheriff his ID. The ID was, of course, genuine. The Black Ops Special Forces had a complete range of IDs from various national departments. Each department had a dedicated office, but these were mostly stored in files to facilitate the Black Ops Special Forces work. After the sheriff verified the ID, Kay approached the stowaways and used his sunglasses to identify each one. After the analysis was complete, Kay's face was not so good. 15 of the 16 individuals could be identified, but the last one had no record in the database at all. "Are you octopus, rabbit, eagle, or grizzly? Where are the other 3? Kay asked directly, staring at the last one. The Mexican hesitated, and when Jay, who was standing next to him, pulled out a laser gun, he could only say, "I'm octopus. I know nothing." Chapter 288 Cruel Retirement. "Take him away first." Kay looked at the border police around him, took the octopus to the car first, gave the sheriff a document, returned to the driver's seat, and continued questioning. Octopus quickly confessed, "Just 10 days ago, during one of our free time activities, Rabbit suddenly whispered to me that he had a plan to escape the prison and could take me with him. I was terrified, but I couldn't resist Rabbit and the other 2, and I didn't dare tell them. They were demons. It wasn't until yesterday afternoon that Rabbit told me everything was ready. Then, with them, I knocked out 6 guards and escaped through a hidden passage. Once outside the prison, they took me out to sea. After swimming for a while, we came across an empty speedboat with 4 skins on it. Rabbit gave me a human skin code and a map. We were to separate and reunite once we reached shore. I followed the map to this place." Kay listened quietly. Octopus completely disclaimed responsibility, as if he were being held hostage. But Kay knew that Octopus must have wanted to escape too, but he wasn't very smart, and had been tricked by Rabbit and the others. Because Jay had just found 4 locators on the octopus and continued to inquire about further details, Kay was certain they must have accomplices. The Pacific prison was far from the coastline, yet Rabbit and his crew hadn't been swimming long before they found the empty speedboat and the prepared human skin suits. This must have been coordinated by other aliens. Furthermore, considering Locke, Rabbit, and the other 3 were imprisoned in the same cell, and their escape relied on a previously unseen secret passage, a hole appeared where the thick steel wall should have been. This might have something to do with Locke. Otherwise, why had Rabbit and his crew not used this method to escape for so long, and why did Locke use it upon his arrival? After a brief moment of thought, Kay turned on his communicator. "Calling headquarters, this is Kay. Please help me identify the aliens released from the Pacific prison in the past 3 months. I'm also sending 2 people to follow Locke, the aquamarine alien who was released yesterday. I need to confirm his whereabouts. Agent K." According to records, a total of 76 alien criminals have been released in the past 3 months, and 1 has been transferred for medical reasons. Hearing this answer, Kay frowned. 76 aliens, each of whom could have provided assistance to the rabbits, was a rather large number. The key was that they couldn't conduct a high-profile investigation or take drastic measures, as that would easily lead to diplomatic disputes. Besides preparing tools, they hadn't done anything else. Unless they captured him in the act, and without the ability to conduct a rigorous interrogation, it was impossible to uncover anything. So where is Locke now? Since there was no way to make a breakthrough there, they could only see if they could get any leads from Locke. Ever since leaving, Locke Lee has been staying in the presidential suite of the New York hotel. He hasn't come out at all. All his meals are provided by the hotel, presidential suite. He really knows how to enjoy himself. Let's go, take Octopus back, and then we'll go meet Rock, Kay said after ending the call. I didn't expect to see Agent Kay again so soon. Please come in. With a gesture, Rock ushered Kay into the room. Anything to drink? I'm here to ask you something. Just after you were released, Rabbit, Grizz, and Hawk also escaped. Do you know anything about this? Kay asked rudely, observing the situation in the room. What? They actually escaped? Rock looked surprised. I don't know much about them. I'm sure you know they're all nasty bullies. If I didn't have some strength, I'd probably suffer in prison. Kay knew Rock was hinting at his imprisonment at the Pacific Penitentiary. Perhaps secretly helping Rabbit and the others escape and facilitating their escape was just Rock's way of getting back at him. Scanning the room, Kay quickly noticed the helmet-shaped object Locke had placed on the table. It seems you enjoy learning. The knowledgeable Kay certainly recognized the learning device. Not only did he know about it, he'd even used it. Humanity's pursuit of the unknown is endless, and many things on Earth no longer pique my interest. Locke's words rang true to his own experience. When he first gained wealth and power, he indulged himself with a wealth of fine wine, delicious food, and beautiful women. Besides the fish in a few ponds, Locke also experienced the unique character of America. Over the years, while he hadn't yet reached the point of slaying 1,000 people, he had already surpassed the mark of 100, and his skills were all exceptional. With more experience, he gradually lost his former eagerness. Just like Nagasawa Ryako, whom he had recently met in the American TV series, if it were his usual personality, he would have definitely taken her for a few drives together, enjoying the fun before releasing her. But now, Locke was more interested in the atmosphere there, relaxing and easing himself into the world. As for other things, he wasn't as proactive. Kay remained silent on Locke's words. Then Locke asked, "Are you here alone today? Where's your partner?" "He's retired." A flicker of sadness crossed Kay's face. Kay's current partner, Jay, was too old and no longer felt up to the job of the Black Ops. Jay had dedicated 40 years to the cause. Before leaving, the most memorable thing Kay had said was that he realized he hadn't truly seen the world from the beginning. He ultimately chose retirement. But if it were Locke, he would have preferred a cushy logistics position to retirement. For Black Ops, retirement is a harsh choice. Black Ops regulations stipulate that, like ordinary people, agents who choose to retire cannot take any alien-related memories with them. As for the method of erasing memories, it's naturally the Black Ops Essential Amnesiac. A product of alien technology, once programmed, a flash of red light in the eye will cause the device to erase the memories of the preset time period. If the time period is set to 1 year, the memory of the previous year will be lost. If the time period is set to 10 years, the memory of the same 10 years will also be lost. Kay's partner has been a Black Ops special agent for 40 years, practically dedicating his entire life to the profession. Retiring now would mean the erasure of 40 years of his memory. His memories would rewind to 40 years ago, and he'd dream of taking a good look at the stars, having never properly observed them in the past 40 years. But then he'd realize he'd barely even experienced the world, and in the blink of an eye, he'd already aged. 40 years of life would be a blank. This would be even more cruel than continuing in Black Ops until death. Chapter 289 Chips and Artificial Intelligence. Kay's partner chose to retire and then had his memory wiped. While having their memories wiped is incredibly cruel for a person, it's an inevitable choice for the Black Police. Given Earth's current technological capabilities, if word of the aliens were to spread, the entire planet would inevitably be plunged into chaos, and many events would become uncontrollable. While the Black Police are concealing the existence of aliens from the public and secretly suppressing information about them, they are also secretly promoting the development of Earth's technology. According to information Locke has gathered, although it's only the late 1990s, the world's cutting-edge technology is already on par with, and even surpasses, that of Locke's previous life. Locke speculates that the Black Police may have a plan to advance Earth's technological development and unification, utilizing their resources to gradually advance Earth's technological advancement and usher in the era of interstellar travel. Locke had previously heard from Rabbit that the Black Police had purchased over a dozen planets surrounding Earth, essentially preparing for the future. These planets hold resources and territory for Earth's future development. It's likely that once Earth's technological level reaches a certain level, information about aliens will be released. Combined with the purchase of over a dozen planets, Earth will become a minor force, barely maintaining a foothold in the universe. Of course, Black Ops's plans mean little to Locke. His concern is the retirement of his partner, Kay, which also signals the impending arrival of Kay's new partner, and the beginning of the plot. Kay chatted with Locke for a long time, but ultimately failed to extract a single piece of useful information from him, and ultimately had to leave. Watching Kay leave the hotel, Locke returned to the sofa, removed the learning device from the coffee table, and set it aside, revealing a fingernail-sized object. This was the STEM chip Locke had recently purchased from Jack's shop. Among the top cosmic powers, it would be a very old model, its processing power probably less than the chips in their current personal computers. But for Locke, it was sufficiently advanced. Locke was currently applying the knowledge he had acquired over the past 3 months to research this chip. As for the chip in the handheld supercomputer he'd purchased earlier, Locke's knowledge of its principles was beyond his comprehension, making it impossible to research. He had no choice but to settle for this old model. However, according to the specifications, the chip's performance was sufficient for Locke's use for a long time. This chip was an implantable device that connected to the brain's central nervous system and also possessed artificial intelligence. The rectangular chip measured approximately 8 x 5 mm, and was less than 3 mm thick. Locke could see the complex microcircuitry, with 8 connectors on each side. Carefully using his magic, he separated the chip along the seam. With a click, the chip split in two. Locke's telepathic perception revealed a dense network of electrodes and circuitry, like a microscopic city. At the center of the chip lay a black crystal-like substance, perfectly structured like a Metatronic cube. Locke knew this was the chip's core, its brain. With a sudden thought, he sliced the chip even thinner, ultimately dividing it, less than 3 mm thick, into 9 pieces, each containing a dense network of circuits. These microcircuits alone were beyond the capabilities of Locke's world's industrial technology. However, the most crucial element was the black crystal in the center, the core processor. While the chip appeared to lack any storage device, in reality, all these functions were seamlessly integrated into the crystal's seamless structure. As for the 16 interfaces, they were actually connected nerve centers, operating on biological energy. The entire chip was essentially a complete electronic computer, with its own arithmetic unit, exceeding even the speed of any modern computer. It also had memory, a controller, and even input and output devices. The bionic system within the chip could simulate the tiniest nerve impulses. It could even stimulate the brain by releasing tiny currents, manipulating the secretion of hormones such as phenylethylamine, dopamine, endorphins, norepinephrine, and posterior pituitary hormone, thereby confusing the senses and manipulating the mind. Normally, without alien technology, it's impossible to observe the core of a chip. However, Locke possessed magical powers that allowed him to overtake others. Through his perception, he discovered that the black crystal was composed of countless stacked single layers of graphene. If you've been following the news, you'll know that graphene is actually quite familiar. It consists of a hexagonal honeycomb structure of tightly packed carbon atoms. It's very similar to ordinary graphite, only much thinner. A single millimeter of graphite can yield 3 million layers of graphene. Because single-layer graphene has only one atomic layer, so thin it's only one atom thick, some believe it's completely two-dimensional. In a previous life, it was considered a revolutionary material of the future. However, Locke's perception revealed that the black crystal was actually composed of tens of millions of layers of graphene, stacked one on top of the other. Each layer was etched with circuitry, ultimately forming a structure comprised of hundreds of billions of transistors. Because graphene is so stable, it can operate reliably even at a scale close to that of a single atom, and its efficiency is even far superior to that of ordinary transistors. Graphene processors boast computational efficiency millions of times greater than that of modern computer processors. Graphene is also flexible, biocompatible, and has excellent conductivity, allowing it to connect directly to human nerves and provide greater stability. All Locke needs to do now is apply the theoretical knowledge he's learned over the past 3 months to fully analyze the chip in his possession. Ultimately, he'll leverage the unique properties of his magic to create a similar chip, then pair it with his own AI to put it to use. Whether it's the supercomputer he purchased or the AI built into this chip, both have significant limitations. The supercivilization that created them has placed numerous restrictions and backdoors in the core programs of these AIs. For example, these AIs cannot be used to violate laws, manipulate biological senses, or infringe on information security. The restrictions are numerous, and Locke intends to learn the relevant knowledge about AI. His AI might not yet reach the performance of these AIs, and would be considered only a very basic one. However, he can customize it to his needs, as he intends to program the core program with the sole command to always protect Locke's interests and obey his every command. Chapter 290. Both protagonists are here. With a corresponding artificial intelligence, Locke can distribute the chips he's created to his subordinates, effectively implanting a supercomputer in each of his subordinates' brains, greatly enhancing their power. Furthermore, through the chip, Locke can monitor each subordinate's status, foreseeing potential betrayal. This allows his subordinates to maintain perfect confidentiality. Any thought of leaking secrets will be immediately detected, and any attempt to act will be warned or even stopped. Furthermore, if necessary, Locke can directly control these subordinates, trapping them in illusions and manipulating their behavior to protect Locke's interests. Locke can even attach a bomb to the chip and activate it when necessary, destroying it while also exploding the opponent's brain. This way, none of his chip-carrying subordinates will have the opportunity to defect. With this device, Locke can freely navigate the American TV world, freeing himself from the burden of focusing on his business ventures. Because the chip handles all his problems, he no longer needs to meet with professional managers regularly to personally review data reports and confirm their thoughts. The chip will do all the work for him, even turning them into his loyal followers. However, Locke has only been in prison for 3 months, learning the relevant theoretical knowledge through learning devices. To realize all this, he needs a significant amount of time to research and program his own AI. Locke estimates that it will take about 2 years to achieve initial results. For now, Locke needs to focus on the upcoming plot. For example, through the magic mark he recently placed on Kay, he discovered that he had been visiting a bar that evening, perhaps due to the overwhelming shock of his partner's resignation. From what Locke knows, Kay quit drinking a long time ago. The reason is quite dramatic. 30 years ago, Kay, while driving under the influence, accidentally struck and killed a hippie who ran a red light. Although the hippie's red light was partly to blame, Kay still blames himself for it, believing that if he hadn't been drunk, his driving skills could have easily avoided the accident. Kay has not drunk since then, so Locke speculates that his appearance at the bar this time was either due to the shock of his partner's departure or because he was on a special mission. As the story unfolds, Locke must keep tabs on Kay, one of the main characters, so he follows the magic markings and arrives at the bar. The bar isn't particularly remarkable. Entering, under the dim, multicolored lights, Locke quickly finds Kay, seated at the bar. After a moment's deliberation, he reaches him and says, "Do you like to come and relax after get off work?" "Apart from work, I rarely come to the bar." Kay glances at Locke and picks up his coffee, seemingly undeterred by his partner's departure. After casually ordering a drink, the bartender at the front desk begins a dazzling display of swagger, drawing the attention of several nearby girls. After the bartender finishes his routine and places the prepared drinks in front of Locke, the girls nearby take a look at Locke and Kay, noting that both are wearing high-end suits and custom-made watches, pretty high-end for the bar. A few girls, also sharp-eyed, whispered to each other, exchanged glances, and huddled over to the two men. "Sir, how about buying us a drink?" Locke glanced at the girl who had approached him. She looked okay. Judging by her complexion, probably no older than 16 or 17. However, the heavy makeup and nose ring made Locke a little disapproving. Her shammit look didn't suit his taste, so he ignored her. Kay was even more forthright, pulling out a police badge and waving it. "Want to come with us? If not, don't bother us." The girls dispersed, cursing. Locke then spoke up. "You're here after get off work, and you're not drinking. You don't look like you're here to relax, just to see someone," Kay said, pointing in a direction. "This is," Locke raised an eyebrow, recognizing the young black man Kay was referring to as Will, one of the film's protagonists, and the soon-to-be new J Black Ops agents come and go, but their code names remain the same. Those with simpler code names, like Kay, are elite agents who are specially trained. Locke was actually quite familiar with the young black man's face. After all, in the American TV world, a con man with that face had done Locke a great favor. Sure enough, Kay hadn't come to the bar just for a drink, but to check out his new partner. Kay was quite familiar with Will. Will might not know Kay, but Kay knew him intimately. Years ago, Will's father died at the hands of aliens, and Kay had agreed to help look after Will. From childhood, Will had never known someone watching over him, even guiding him, gradually becoming an upright, brave, responsible, and intelligent young police officer. In a sense, Will was Kay's personal trainee. It was precisely because of this understanding of Will that Kay chose him as his new partner and even considered him as his successor. "Hey, you're a little late getting off work today," the bartender, seemingly an acquaintance of Will's, said directly when he saw him approach the bar. "It can't be helped. A thief was shot and killed by the shop owner while on the run. Someone has to stay," Will replied with a shrug. "Well, cheers to our dedicated Will." "This is my treat," the bartender said, pouring Will a beer. "This is my job, no need to buy me a drink for this." Will smiled and pulled out a dollar bill. "Are you planning on finding a new partner?" Locke observed Will. "You aliens are all very smart," Kay said. "What do you think of this guy?" "I'm meeting him for the first time, so I can't tell." Locke glanced at Kay. His partner had retired due to age, and Kay, in his 60s, was actually considering retirement too. As is normal, Kay would have retired after guiding Will into the industry. 4 years later, in the second film, Will became the team's ace agent and, after Kay, a new legend within the team. With such remarkable achievements in just 4 years, this guy is undoubtedly well suited to the job, and he's truly thriving in the team. It is estimated that it will not be long before Will joins the Men in Black Special Police. Locke knows that he needs to be prepared as well. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 291 Long Live the Boss. "This is a good guy," Kay said the last sentence, took out a bill from his pocket and put it on the bar, waved to Locke and left alone. Watching Kay leave, Locke knew that he had made up his mind to let Will join the Black Super Police. Thinking of this, Locke took out his mobile phone and sent a message, and then began to think about the next plan. After a while, another young man came to the front of the bar and said directly, "Give me a glass of sugar water." Sugar water? Locke was feeling strange, and then saw him take out a few bills from his pocket and put them on the bar. Seeing these bills, Locke raised an eyebrow, because he took out federal currency, not US dollars. Instantly, Locke knew this person was an alien, one who had only recently arrived on Earth. Their appearance also stirred a thought in Locke's mind. "Is this starting now, sir? What currency is this?" The bartender, not recognizing the federal currency, frowned at him. "We only accept US dollars. Get lost." The alien, seemingly possessing a violent temper, grabbed the bartender by the collar and demanded, "Give me some sugar water, you lowlife." "Hey, have you had too much to drink?" Will, standing nearby, flung out his police badge. "Don't mess around here, get lost, you two-legged black bastard," the alien yelled at Will. "Hey, sir, you're being racist. Come back to the station with me." Will, upon hearing this, pulled out his gun and shouted, "Get lost, bastard." The alien grabbed Will, scooping him up like a chicken and tossing him aside. Then, he reached across the bar, found some sugar, and drank a glass of water. "You actually attacked a police officer. You're in trouble." Will recovered and got up from the ground. He pulled out his gun and said, "Now you." Just as he said this, he saw the alien turned around and ran out of the bar. "Stop, don't run. I'm a New York police officer," Will shouted as he chased after him. The two of them, one chasing the other, were like a movie, running on the streets, jumping over overpasses, and crossing busy roads. It was a thrilling ride. Locke followed the two of them slowly. Seeing that Will was out of breath and the alien was about to escape, Locke raised his eyebrows and suddenly a baseball appeared in his hand. He threw it at the alien. Bang! The baseball hit the alien's head and knocked him down. After standing beside the alien for a moment, panting, Will looked at Locke as he approached and said, "You're quite impressive. Such accurate and powerful shots. You're the starting pitcher for the baseball team, right?" "You guessed right. Back in school, I was the starting pitcher." Locke approached Will and looked at the alien. As expected, it was a Zerg, though he didn't know what it looked like in its true form. As the two approached, the Zerg staggered to its feet, fear and despair in its eyes. "He's already on his way. His appearance means I've failed. He'll kill me, and your world will be destroyed." "What are you talking about?" Will asked, baffled. The Zerg alien smiled cruelly. "Cherish your last moments." Then, seeing a passing truck, the Zerg alien suddenly moved, darting onto the road and diving under its tires. Looking at the suicidal Zerg alien, Will was surprised. Why did he commit suicide? Because his mission failed, Locke said. He's a Zerg alien. In their civilization, everyone has a mission. If he can't complete it, he's useless and can only die. Locke examined the Zerg's corpse. The skin seemed fine, and the Black Ops would naturally handle it. He simply patted Will on the shoulder and left. Will was stunned for a moment, then found Locke's words ridiculous. What Zerg alien? Was he talking about StarCraft? This guy must be someone with a mental problem, unable to distinguish between games and reality. Only to commit suicide. As for aliens, how could there be aliens in this world? Anyone who believed them was a fool. Coming to his senses, Will called the police first. Once he had explained, he went back to look for Locke, intending to take him in for a statement. But Locke was nowhere to be found, and Will didn't even see when he left. Locke and Will separated. Not sensing any Black Ops pursuit, they went to a cafe and quietly waited for Rabbit and the others. Just as Kay had expected, Locke had been instrumental in helping the three rabbits escape, using his powers to open a passage for them. He primarily wanted to have 3 more errand boys to run his own errands for him during the plot. Boss, after a moment's wait, a familiar voice rang from the entrance of the cafe. Turning, he saw 2 grown men, one sturdy and one thin, leading a little boy holding a lollipop. You're here, Locke nodded after confirming the three's identities through his magical senses. Boss, don't you think my skin looks good? Rabbit excitedly ran over to Locke and spun around, apparently liking his new look. Not bad. Next, I have a mission for you, Locke said, pulling out a bag and a photo, placing it in front of the 3. Use the surveillance equipment and communication devices in here. I want you to go to Rosberg's jewelry store and monitor the owner. But don't get caught. If you see anything unusual, report it to me, boss. Is he an alien too? Which planet is he from? He's our new blackmail target. Are you planning to go big? Rabbit asked, taking a look at the photo. Bang! Locke punched Rabbit in the head. Then Locke said, who said I was blackmailing him? I'm monitoring him, and don't let them find out. Got it, I understand, boss. Covering his head, Rabbit nodded repeatedly. Alright, take this money. Complete the mission well, or you'll be in trouble, Locke said, pulling out 2 more stacks of bills, one thicker in US dollars and the other in federal currency. Good job this time, you all will get a reward. Seize this opportunity, and the money you earn will definitely keep you busy for years, Locke said. Really? Hearing about making money, the 3 of them perked up. Of course, as long as it's done, we'll each get 100,000 federal coins. Locke looked at the 3 excited people and said, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and get moving. Hurry up, boss. We're going to be rich, the 3 rabbits cheered. Previously, they had worked so hard to extort money, but at most they only made a few hundred federal coins a month. 100,000 federal coins was a huge sum they had never been able to earn before. Chapter 292. It's a waste you if you don't take it. After watching the 3 leave, Locke went back to rest for the night. The next morning, he returned to Jack's shop. Jack was incredibly welcoming to his important customer, practically a lackey. Since the space items were so valuable, Locke had spent the previous 3 months crafting several, hoping to stock up on supplies. Has the reactor I ordered 2 days ago arrived? Locke asked without wasting time. It's here, Jack said, pulling out a palm-sized, triangular block of metal. This reactor is high-end stuff. It can be used as a power source for spaceships, but it's a bit pricey. This reactor was somewhat similar to Iron Man's arc reactor, compact yet capable of providing massive amounts of energy and maintaining excellent stability. Even though Locke had purchased a large amount of technical data containing relevant knowledge, he still had a long way to go before he could manufacture it himself. For now, this reactor would be just the right thing to use as a temporary solution. You know, price isn't an issue for me, what matters is that the product is good enough. Locke took the metal block, while Jack chattered away about his new products. These included a small spacecraft capable of short-distance space travel. The spacecraft was a civilian model, unarmed, and limited to short trips. Locke had purchased one for research, not for actual use. These vehicles had limited energy, and it was possible for them to run out of power mid-flight. In the alien prison, Locke had heard plenty from the aliens that the rate of people trapped in space due to insufficient energy was far higher than that of spacecraft accidents. If they got lost or miscalculated, and no one rescued them. They could only sit in their spacecraft and wait for death. Then there was the memory eraser used by the Black Super Police. In some works, this device was considered a magical artifact, capable of erasing memories of a specific period of time while also allowing them to implant desired thoughts. With this device, even a nerdy geek could easily control a woman in black silk stockings, a woman in white silk stockings, or a woman with a generous heart. Countless men dreamed of owning one. Locke had ample resources, so he naturally took an interest in games like stalking, cuckoldry, and train molestation. However, this ability to erase memories and alter thoughts was comparable to Uchiha Shisamu's Mangekyou Sharingan in Naruto, capable of transforming a wide range of things. For only 30,000 Federation coins, Locke immediately took one, figuring he'd need it someday. Jack kept trying to sell Locke a variety of technological gadgets. Some were second-hand. The aliens who had settled on Earth often sold off their unused items. Others were smuggled in by Jack, ranging from armed spaceships to alien-invented food synthesizers. Locke's money was limited, so he didn't go on a shopping spree. He simply selected items based on his needs and took possession of the reactor he had previously reserved. Even so, he'd spent nearly 2 million Federation coins, the money he'd previously earned from selling a storage necklace, and it felt like it was gone before he'd even spent it. He left the store under Jack's somewhat reluctant gaze. Meanwhile, Will had gotten into some minor trouble at the police station. I swear everything I said is true. That guy went crazy for some reason, ran out onto the street, and was crushed to death by a truck. Not long after, his body turned into a pool of green liquid, leaving only his skin. Okay, Will, we're all acquaintances now. I know you're not the type to talk nonsense, but what you just said is ridiculous. Were you into drugs before the chase? No, I never touched that stuff, and everything I said is true. If you don't believe me, you can check the surrounding surveillance. There was a passerby nearby at the time. If you find him, he can testify for me. Will felt helpless at this point, and could only continue to explain his experience to his superiors. He hadn't expected that the suicidal lunatic would turn into a pool of green liquid before the police car arrived. Seeing that scene, Will was also shocked. How could a living person just turn into a pool of liquid? The others obviously didn't believe this explanation, thinking he was drunk or on drugs, causing a trance and hallucinations. Okay, Will, I think you'd better go home and rest. You're probably too exhausted. I'll arrange for a psychological evaluation for you. After being sent away by his boss, Will was still thinking about what had just happened. A dead person turned into a pool of green liquid, leaving only a piece of human skin. It didn't make sense. He also didn't believe he was hallucinating. He had only had one beer at the bar before, and he was definitely not drunk. There had to be something unusual, but he couldn't grasp it. Just then, the door suddenly opened next to him, and a man in a black suit sat down in front of him. I'm Kay, senior FBI agent. I have a question for you. Whatever, you won't believe it anyway. Will, after a long time of haggling with his boss, was now a little frustrated, but he still prepared to answer the question seriously. What did the guy who was crushed to death say to you? Kay asked. He said he failed, that the Vanguard was on their way, that he would be killed, and that Earth would be destroyed. Will could only repeat what he had said many times before. I think this guy is absolutely insane, his mind full of crazy fantasies. While most people might dismiss these words as madness, Kay listened intently. He then began to ask Will what else he had heard. Will shook his head. After saying this, the man ran out onto the road and was run over by a car. Kay nodded, then pulled out a collection, pointed to a photo, and asked, "Is this the witness you're talking about?" The photo showed Locke, and Will recognized him immediately, nodding. Seeing this, Kay sighed. Is it possible I left a little too early yesterday? If he had left later, seeing the alien in person, he might have been able to get more information. However, he quickly adjusted his attitude and called Locke to inquire about the situation. That guy was a Zerg. From what he said, he came to Earth on a mission, but there's been no progress, so new Zerg have been sent over. As for his suicide, it was probably due to fear of the consequences of mission failure. So do you have any clues about the mission he mentioned? Kay continued. That's not something I know. Locke naturally couldn't reveal everything. But Zerg guys are warlike. They must have some dangerous plans when they came to Earth. You should be careful. Okay, I get it. Thank you for your cooperation. Just remember to wire the money, Locke reminded him. Although the informant fee for such a small clue is small, it would be a waste not to take it. Chapter 293 Headquarters. After hanging up the phone, Kay looked at Will again. He had previously harbored the idea of recruiting Will into the Men in Black, and now that the opportunity presented itself, his desire only intensified. "Come with me," Kay said after a moment's thought. "Where are we going?" Will asked, following Kay out of the police station and into the black Lincoln, taking in the scenery along the way. "You'll know when we get there," Kay said without further ado, driving all the way to the entrance of the New York Men in Black headquarters. Will followed him out of the car and immediately saw the sign for the Tunnel and Bridge Authority, which only heightened his suspicions, but he followed Kay inside. The elevator was manned by a guard. Seeing Kay entering with a stranger, he asked, "Agent Kay, who is this guy?" "He's a new recruit, I'm taking him there," Kay explained, and the guard nodded and let him go without checking. After all, Kay is a legend among the Men in Black. Not only does he hold the highest prestige within the organization, but his influence is second only to that of the chief. Rumor has it that Kay will likely take over the reins after the current chief retires. After entering the elevator, Kay spoke. "According to confidentiality regulations, you witnessed something special about the aliens, so I should erase your memory. But it's also your good fortune. My partner recently retired, so we need to find a new partner. I think you have great potential, so I'm giving you the opportunity to choose." As he spoke, Kay punched in the code on the elevator buttons. Soon, a new row of buttons appeared. Pressing these new buttons would lead to the Men in Black floor, otherwise, it would lead to the Tunnel and Bridge Management Center. Will couldn't help but feel a little curious about this kind of secrecy, but he was more focused on what Kay said. After a moment's hesitation, he tentatively asked, "You said I saw an alien?" "Yes, the one you were chasing was an alien. One of their characteristics is that after death, their bodies turn into liquid and evaporate. As for human skin, it's their disguise on Earth." Even with this explanation, Will still felt a little skeptical. After all, the existence of aliens challenged the values he had been raised on, so he chose to wait and see. Ding! With a sound, the elevator doors opened, revealing a vast space dozens of meters high and the size of a football field. Inside, hundreds of desks were densely packed, and employees in suits were working at their desks. But what shocked Will the most was that among these office workers and those walking around, there were many strange-looking alien creatures. These people seemed to understand Earth's language and greeted and chatted with Kay as he passed by. Looking at Will, stunned, as if his entire worldview had been shattered, Kay nodded in satisfaction and said, "Welcome to the real world, Kay. Who is this young man?" At this moment, a portly man in a suit, standing at a window of an office suspended in midair, asked Kay wait here for a moment. Before Will could utter a single question, Kay patted his shoulder, gave him instructions, and took the nearby elevator to the office. "Kay, isn't that the new partner you've chosen? He doesn't seem to be an old member of the organization, but a complete newcomer." The portly man in the suit was actually the chief of the Men in Black team, also responsible for the New York region. He said to Kay, "Many young men in the department are eager to be your partners. Choosing a completely newcomer like you would probably make a lot of people complain. The Men in Black team is an extremely large organization, and naturally has a large number of agents on the front lines. Even in the New York region, there are over 200 of them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to fully manage the 1,500 aliens in the New York area, who could cause trouble from time to time. Low-level agents in the Black Ops SWAT team must pass rigorous selection processes, undergoing a series of written and physical tests. They must also be proficient in at least 5 foreign languages and familiar with the operation of thousands of weapons. Senior agents with titles are a rare sight in each branch. Becoming Kay's partner means a quick ascent to senior rank, and there are countless eyes on him. Kay's decision to simply choose a newcomer as his partner and bestow a title upon him would be a step up, potentially dampening the enthusiasm and confidence of lower-level agents, a prospect the director naturally disapproves of. Kay understood this, but he had his own thoughts. "I'm not choosing a partner this time. If it were just a matter of choosing a partner, I wouldn't have chosen him." The director was taken aback, looking at Kay hesitantly, as if trying to confirm something. "What do you mean, I'm choosing a successor? I'm getting old, and it's almost time for me to retire. I see so much potential in that young man, he'll become a legend." The director firmly opposed this. Of course, he wasn't against Will, but rather Kay's desire to retire. He wanted Kay to succeed him as director. Kay, however, felt he was too old. Most of the agency's top agents were in their 60s or even 70s, having joined during the unit's earliest years. By now, those once proud and capable men were mostly elderly, and their age made it difficult for them to handle the demanding work of the black police. Rejuvenating the black police force was essential. He wanted to set an example, and Kay himself was also feeling a bit tired and planning to retire and rest. Meanwhile, Will gazed at his surroundings with curiosity. Kay's instructions kept him from wandering around, as he would have been drawn in to chat with the bizarre aliens. As he scanned the area, he spotted a familiar face and quickly went over to greet him. "Hey, that picture from yesterday." His shout immediately drew a lot of attention, and Will could only smile, feeling a bit awkward. Fortunately, his outgoing personality quickly put aside the awkwardness and struck up a conversation with the newly arrived Locke. "Why are you here too? Are you in the same business as Kay?" "Not really, but I'm just a black special police officer trying to get some information from me," Locke said. "Buy information from you?" Will eyed Locke curiously. "I'm from the blue planet, what you call an alien. I have access to information that Earthlings don't," Locke said. "Crap, you're an alien too." Will looked at Locke, but couldn't discern anything alien about him. "What's so strange about this?" "In fact, many aliens living on Earth are disguised as humans," Locke said. "Kay brought you here, apparently intending to recruit you into the Men in Black." "Men in Black? This is the Men in Black's New York headquarters," Locke said. "Of course, you can also call them the Men in Black. The Men in Black are divided into operations and logistics. You should have met the operations team leader. K is for the logistics team leader, codename O. There's also the current director Z." Locke briefly introduced the Men in Black, and Will listened with gusto, finding it quite novel. The two hadn't been chatting for long when someone approached them and said, "Mr. Locke, the director and Kay are waiting for you in the office." "I see. Let's talk later." Locke nodded, said hello to Will, and took the elevator to the office. "Why did you have to call me here? Didn't I already tell you about the Zerg Vanguard's imminent arrival on Earth?" Chapter 294 The Relaxed King. "I heard you were there when that Zerg alien appeared yesterday," the director said. "Yes, I saw him cause trouble and then die," Locke said. "So, what do you think of his last words? Do you have more information about him? And do you know why that Vanguard officer came to Earth?" Kay asked a series of questions at a rapid pace. Although the aliens live, they have their own circles, and insider information doesn't easily reach the black police. That's why the black police bribe informants to get information from the aliens. The impending arrival of the Zerg Vanguard officer on Earth is no secret to many aliens. Even King Acheron, who is vacationing on Earth and possesses a miniature galaxy, knows about it and knows that the Zerg are targeting him. For this reason, the Ankali Federation has decided to send an interstellar fleet to rescue King Acheron. Otherwise, the Ankali Federation fleet wouldn't have arrived on Earth so quickly in the plot, threatening the black police to find the miniature galaxy as quickly as possible or they would destroy Earth. However, in the plot, the Zerg Vanguard arrived first, found King Acheron, and killed him, setting the subsequent events in motion. The other aliens had also received some information by this time. While the details weren't precise, they knew Earth was in trouble. From aliens close to headquarters, Kay knew the Zerg Vanguard's arrival on Earth would cause significant trouble, but they didn't know the specifics. This was why Kay specifically summoned Locke to question him. They believed Locke, a fellow alien, must know something they didn't. Under these circumstances, the escape of the three rabbits was a minor issue, something they could deal with later. Locke, on the other hand, was debating whether to continue leaking information to the Black Special Police, and how much to disclose. As long as the information is confirmed to be true, the informant fee will be satisfactory to you, the director said, noting Locke's silent contemplation. After a moment's silence, Locke said, "I don't know much. The Zerg are an extremely warlike and aggressive race. The so-called Vanguard is a position within their arsenal. Zerg who hold this position are generally quite capable, at least comparable to my current level in frontal combat. The Vanguard this time is a cockroach, a species reputed to be the most difficult to kill. As for their mission here, I have no right to know." With Black Special Cop's attitude, Locke had to reveal something, but he had to keep the details of the miniature galaxy and King Acheron under wraps for now. He was hoping to capitalize on this opportunity. King Acheron's visit to Earth was kept secret, and he used a false identity. No one would suspect him if he said he didn't know. Furthermore, No one knew King Acheron was fond of keeping a cat, even hanging something as important as the miniature galaxy around its neck. The Black Ops didn't get the intelligence they'd hoped for, but they still gave Locke a generous informant fee, which Locke exchanged for the necessary items. At this point, they knew to win over people and avoid unnecessary complications. Are you done? What do they want from you? Will still found it hard to imagine Locke was an alien. To him, everyone here was a stranger, but Locke, a barely familiar figure, approached and started a conversation. What do you think of this place? Locke glanced around the hall and smiled. It's amazing here. Everything I've seen today has truly opened my eyes and refreshed my understanding of the world. It feels like I've come into contact with the real world, Will said. It seems you're planning to stay. I'm sure you won't let Kay down and will find the life you want here. Locke nodded and left the Black Ops headquarters. Back on the street, passing a newsstand, Locke bought a few newspapers. In one of them, Locke saw Kay's former partner being wheeled out of the hospital. The headline was, "God's Blessed Person, Vegetative State Awakens After 40 Years, Locke shook his head at the headline. This wasn't good news, but tragedy. After having his memory erased by an amnesiac, Jay has been in a coma for 40 years. His memories are stuck in the past, and he only believes they were truly there. He remembers him as a young man, but now he's an old man. The key is that this long memory gap makes him feel alienated from society. It's like the old man in the movie The Shawshank Redemption, imprisoned at 18 and released at 68. He's been out of touch with society for so many years, and 3 days after his release, he hangs himself in a motel. He's lost touch with the times, and everyone he knew is gone. He's left alone in the world, a world completely unfamiliar to him. Jay retired because he was tired, but the reality of his anticipated retirement was terrifying. It was as if overnight, from a young, handsome man in his prime, he'd suddenly become an old man in a completely unfamiliar era. How could he possibly fit in with modern life? His only consolation was receiving over $3 million in insurance payout, likely arranged by the Black Ops team. Locke estimated that if Jay could accept the current situation, the best outcome would be buying a farm in the countryside, perhaps even adopting a child and living out his days in the modern city. This was too difficult for an old man whose mindset was still mired in the past 40 years. Locke then used the 3 rabbits to monitor King Acheron's movements and discovered that he remained relaxed, enjoying his leisure time with his pet cat. He had come to Earth to relax and use forged documents. Even the Black Police were unaware of his presence. The Ankle Federation fleet would pick him up in 3 days. Even if the Zerg arrived on Earth, they wouldn't be able to locate him in such a short time. Therefore, King Acheron remained relaxed, doing his usual routine, believing he needed to maintain his kingly composure. However, the Zerg Vanguard already knew his identity on Earth, otherwise, the plot wouldn't have been able to locate him so accurately. It was precisely because of King Acheron's relaxed attitude that he was easily killed. The Zerg Vanguard wasn't particularly strong, at least compared to Locke in the storyline. He couldn't even withstand a single energy ray. Even without magic, Locke had plenty of ways to deal with him. The Zerg terrified many advanced alien civilizations, fundamentally due to their sheer numbers. The overwhelming Zerg hordes could overwhelm a planet in an instant, making individual Zergs relatively easy to deal with. Chapter 295 Be Careful Locke. After listening to Rabbit's report on King Acheron's movements, Locke arrived in front of a nondescript electronics store on Manhattan's Fifth Avenue. The shop was unremarkable, primarily selling televisions, washing machines, DVD players, speakers, and pirated DVDs. Unsurprisingly, Locke hadn't been watching King Acheron, but had come specifically for a unique item, the Time Turner. This item appears in the plot of Men in Black 3, when the interstellar murderer Boris escapes from the Black Ops lunar prison. To reverse his fate after being imprisoned by Kay, who had broken his hand, he devised the Time Turner. Using the Time Turner, Boris travels back in time and, before his arrest, kills Agent K, the agent tasked with capturing him, thus triggering a temporal chaos. At this point, the plot has yet to unfold. Besides Boris, who is imprisoned on the moon, only 2 people on Earth know of the Time Turner's location. One is the interstellar thief, Jeffrey, who placed the Time Turner there. Boris learned about the Time Turner because Jeffrey was imprisoned and became Boris's cellmate. The other one was Jeffrey's son, Daly. Locke only needed to get the Time Turner from him. Welcome, take whatever you want, and when you're done, come check out. Upon entering the store, Locke spotted Jeffrey's son, Daly, a slender, nerdy guy intently playing a game. Judging by the screen, it was the incredibly popular Metal Slug. "My name is Locke, and I'm from Planet Aquamarine." At the counter, Locke introduced himself, then said, "I want something from you, like I told you, take whatever you want. Can't you see I'm busy?" "Oh, boy, these bullets won't faze your dad." Daly was clearly still immersed in the game, excitedly shouting and rapidly pressing the game controller. But then, a chill at his temple finally stopped him from pressing the controller. "Hey, bro, take whatever you want. The money's at the cashier. I'd be very happy if you gave me the time turner," Locke said calmly, gun in hand. "Who are you?" Daly asked. "That's not the important thing. The key is I don't want to go home empty-handed." Locke stared at Dolly and said, "Otherwise I'll be unhappy, and I trust you won't make me unhappy." To obtain the time turner, Locke didn't mind using some unusual means. "Alright, I'll give it to you. After all, I'm a businessman. How can I make a customer unhappy?" Dolly forced a smile. He walked over to the counter and pulled out a silver box from under it. "If I give this to you, you won't hurt me, right?" "Of course, I won't kill unless necessary. I'll just erase your memory." Dolly breathed a sigh of relief and handed the box to Locke. Opening the box, Locke saw a palm-sized object that looked vaguely like a clock, with numbers representing the year and month and buttons for adjustment. Locke knew that the time turner had been stolen from a museum by Dolly's father. It came from the Agris civilization. The Agris civilization was once so powerful that other civilizations were like humans compared to monkeys. One day, the Agris civilization suddenly vanished. All traces of it were erased, as if by a powerful force. Even texts and memories vanished. Only one day, someone stumbled upon a unique relic, rediscovering its existence. All that remained was this time turner, along with a warning: when you choose to reverse time, your shield disappears, signaling an expedition. All civilizations, past, present, and future, eager for and preparing for the expedition will receive your signal and will desperately attack you, for there is only one transcendent. Sorry, latecomer, the time turner is our greatest treasure. We cannot bear to see it forgotten. Forgive our selfishness, it is our only proof of our existence." These words reminded Locke of the Dalao Jinxin. Legend has it that at the Dalao Jinxin level, one transcends time and space, freely traveling through the past and future. So, to become a transcendent, one must reach the Dalao Jinxin level, Locke speculated, unsure if his thinking was correct, as he was still so far from that level. For now, Locke could only hide the time turner. He wouldn't use it until he was certain of its effectiveness, unless he faced an irreversible, desperate situation where not using it would mean death. "Thank you for your cooperation. We have one final step," Locke said, donning his magic mirror, taking out his amnesiac, and setting the time to half an hour ago. A flash of red light appeared, and Daly's eyes grew dull. Locke put his sunglasses away again and said, "Half an hour ago, you tried to use the time turner, but it malfunctioned. In a rage, you smashed it and threw it to the garbage collector. Then you continued playing the game, having a blast." With that, Locke left. A moment later, Daly resumed his game. In his memory, the time turner no longer existed, having been smashed to pieces. The next morning, at the Black Ops headquarters, Will followed Kay into the data room. "Last night, we discovered an unlicensed, unauthorized alien spacecraft that had smuggled itself onto Earth. We've confirmed it landed the day before yesterday, and our satellites have been misled. I suspect it's the Vanguard that Zerg mentioned. We need to find him as soon as possible. After all, he's definitely not coming to Earth for a vacation." "And then what, Will?" the newly appointed Agent J asked casually, unaware of the severity of the situation. "We don't know why he's here, what his goal is, or even what he looks like. This lack of intelligence puts us in a serious position, and that's not a good thing," Kay sighed. "I understand," Jay nodded in understanding. As a former elite detective, he understood the importance of intelligence. "I understand. Now I'll take you through the onboarding process, and then we'll go look for clues." After Kay finished his instructions, he thought for a moment and added, "You'd better be careful with that guy named Locke." "Locke? You mean that alien from Aquamarine? But is he really an alien? He looks just like us." "He just looks the same, similar to the Cetarians," Kay said. "In fact, he wouldn't even need to use much strength to crush all your bones." "Huh? Really?" Jay was shocked. "You can look up his profile when you have time," Kay said. "His origins are quite mysterious, and he hasn't shown any aggressive behavior yet, but it's always better to be cautious. Okay, I get it. Jay had originally thought Locke seemed friendly, but after hearing what Kay said, he became a little more wary. After all, he was just a newbie, and when dealing with aliens, it was best to listen to Kay's advice. Chapter 296 Accident. In his hotel room, Locke opened a silver briefcase. Inside was a row of green bottles and a syringe. He picked up the syringe and examined it, quickly noticing that the green bottle fit neatly into the notch of the syringe, like loading a magazine. This was something Locke had just obtained from the Black Police, a human genetic optimization fluid. Scientists from the Cetarian civilization had helped the Black Police develop it. It contained a variety of trace elements specifically targeted to human cells. Injecting this fluid boosted energy, slowed cell aging to a certain extent, and provided immunity to most diseases. Long-term use also led to a cumulative improvement in physical fitness. Using one syringe monthly for a year, 12 injections, could allow a human to live healthily to the age of 120 or 130, while also boosting their physical fitness to twice that of an average person. This type of genetic optimization fluid was a relatively basic type. A more advanced option was the genetic evolution fluid, a well-kept secret among many interstellar civilizations. Earth, thanks to the Cetarian civilization's research, developed this technology specifically for human genetic optimization. As for the genetic evolution fluid, its aging retarding effect is 3 times greater than that of the genetic optimization fluid, and it can also triple physical fitness, making it even more effective. Unfortunately, it wasn't among the options offered by the Black Police. The genetic optimization fluid in the briefcase was the informant fee Locke had obtained from the Black Police this time. He hadn't chosen Federation currency, but instead had picked it up from the Black Police's logistics department, along with related technology. Honestly, the Black Police couldn't understand why Locke, an alien, would choose a human-specific genetic optimization fluid. Even though Locke resembled humans, it wouldn't have any effect on him. Even the genetic evolution fluid had minimal effect on him. Locke chose these items partly to benefit those around him, but also to further his research into genetic optimization technology. Ordinary genetic optimization and evolution fluids were largely useless to Locke, but what if he could develop something more advanced? With this in mind, Locke made another trip to Jack's store and spent a fortune on the relevant technical information. However, the price was very high this time, and Locke had to trade a 50 cubic meter storage bracelet for it. Because the relevant genetic optimization technology is considered high-end and blocked by many advanced civilizations, it's not just some outdated piece of information. Obtaining it would be exorbitant. It was only through the Cetarian civilization that Earth was able to obtain genetic optimization fluid technology, specifically for humans, rather than the more universally applicable general-purpose genetic optimization technology. Boss, something's happening. The person you asked us to monitor seems to be being targeted. That morning, Locke received a call from Rabbit. The first words perked him up. Who is it? A guy driving an insecticide truck. His expression and movements look strange. He's probably not from Earth. Keep an eye on him. I'll be there right away. With that, Locke sprang into action, sensing something was amiss. According to the plot, the Zerg Vanguard officer was supposed to return to King Acheron tomorrow, but now he's a full day early. Clearly, the plot had changed. Fortunately, Locke hadn't followed the original scenario perfectly, having arranged for Rabbit and the others to keep watch. Otherwise, if he had gone there according to the original schedule, he would have been too late. To avoid further mishaps, Locke used teleport, instantly appearing where Rabbit and the others were. Boss. I just hung up. Rabbit, sipping his soda, stared in surprise at Locke's sudden appearance. Speed is of the essence. Locke looked up and saw they were in front of a department store. Where are they? The man you asked me to monitor is shopping inside. As for the alien, he's over there, Rabbit said, pointing to the nearby parking lot. Following Rabbit's direction, Locke spotted a vehicle belonging to a pest control company, but the driver's seat was empty. That man was there just now. How did he suddenly disappear? Rabbit, noticing something was amiss, quickly remarked. HMPH, Locke glared at Rabbit and entered the department store. The store had 10 floors, with the middle section empty and corridors winding upwards to the highest floor. It was the weekend, and many shoppers were arriving, making the mall densely packed. Normal search methods were a dead end. Locke reached the center of the ground floor and activated his magical senses. He quickly detected two unique life forms, distinct from those of ordinary humans, on the 5th floor. "Follow me," Locke said to the 3 rabbits who had followed him. With a powerful leap, he reached the 4th floor. Then, casting a levitation spell and gently channeling his magical energy, he landed on the 5th floor. He immediately saw a strange-looking Zerg Vanguard officer, cloaked in human form. He ignored the surprised and puzzled glances of the people around him and simply stared at him. The Zerg Vanguard officer, naturally noticing Locke's gaze, flashed a sinister smile, his gaze filled with warning. "Should I kill this guy right here? My mission is to prevent the Zerg from taking possession of the miniature galaxy." Killing him would complete the mission. Locke pondered this thought. As for causing chaos, he didn't care. That was the job of the Black Ops Special Police. Bang, bang, bang. At that moment, a series of gunshots rang out not far away, instantly drawing Locke's attention. He happened to spot a jewelry display about 30 or 40 meters away. 3 robbers, dressed in coats and armed with AKs, were looting the exhibits. Panic soon erupted in the surrounding area. Seeing this, Locke couldn't help but feel a chill. It wasn't that he was worried about the robbers, but rather that he recognized one of the men shot by the robbers, a man in his 70s carrying a briefcase. He was the Earth-like image of King Acheron from the movie. "Damn bastards, what have you done?" The Zerg Vanguard, having also witnessed King Acheron's fall, flew into a rage. He had been following King Acheron until now, avoiding action only to determine the location of the miniature galaxy. Now the robbers had killed him, and the already irritable Zerg Vanguard was instantly furious. With a roar, the Zerg Vanguard instantly ripped through his human skin tunic, revealing a 7 to 8 meter long Zerg body. Its sharp jaws devoured the leading robber, then crushed the heads of the other 2 with its 2 sharp forelimbs. Damn, Locke hadn't anticipated this unexpected event. He glanced at the bullet hole in the old man's head and knew something was amiss. The old man's body was merely a veneer for King Acheron's presence on Earth. In reality, most Acheronians were only the size of a baby's palm. Their true form lay within the veneer's head. A bullet wound elsewhere wouldn't have been a major concern, but a bullet to the head meant King Acheron was truly doomed. Thinking for a moment, Locke decided it was best to confirm. He darted over to the old man and tapped his silver earring. The old man's face was opened like a mask, revealing the control cabin inside, and a small King Acheron, whose half-body was shot through by bullets and had no signs of life. Chapter 297. This is good for us. No. At that moment, a furious roar echoed from the side. Locke turned to see a Zerg Vanguard standing upright, over 3 meters tall and 7 or 8 meters long, its beige pupils gazing at him. Clearly, he, too, had seen that King Acheron was utterly doomed. The next moment, both attacked simultaneously. The Zerg Vanguard swung its sharp forelimbs, slamming towards Locke's head. Shatter! Locke pointed at the Zerg Vanguard and unleashed a spell. Bang! With a resounding explosion, a hole blasted directly into the Zerg Vanguard's head, a basin-sized wound appearing. Yellow flesh, like jelly, splattered everywhere. This Zerg Vanguard's danger level was a full D, 1 level higher than Locke's, but this was only a rating of physical strength and destructive power. Hit in the head by Locke's full-strength magic, it was severely damaged. Roar! With a scream of agony, the Zerg Vanguard's long limbs swung in all directions, slicing through those around it who had no time to escape, spraying bright red blood everywhere. God's shadowless blade, with a quick, dodging motion, Locke dodged the incoming forelimbs and unleashed another spell. Puff! With a slash of invisible blades, the Zerg Vanguard's head was instantly severed in 2, scattering yellow slime all the way to the 4 or 5 meters of its body. Yellow mucus splattered everywhere, mingling with the surrounding blood. Seeing the Zerg Vanguard destroyed, Locke breathed a sigh of relief. Turning his head, he noticed a yellow and white cat trembling in fear inside the old man's bag. Seeing the cat brought a faint smile to Locke's face, inspired by the gem embedded in the metal frame at the base of the cat's collar. He lifted the cat and untied its collar, revealing tiny sparks of starlight flowing within the gem. Countless stars converged to form the shape of a galaxy, a miniature Milky Way. With a sudden thought, he stored the miniature Milky Way in his dimensional space. Just as he was thinking about using this treasure to trade for something from the kingdom of Acheron, he suddenly felt his dimensional space undergo a drastic shift. Before Locke could react, his mana was suddenly drained in the blink of an eye. Before he could comprehend what was happening, he realized his dimensional space had expanded over tenfold, becoming a vast expanse 50 meters long, wide, and high. Locke turned his attention back to the miniature galaxy still within the dimensional space. Could it be because of this? And my mana recovery has also slowed down. No, maybe the dimensional space is consuming more mana. After the Demon Slayer world, Locke's refined breathing technique had reached the normal level. This meant that with every breath, Locke could absorb the force from the surrounding universe to restore and cultivate his mana, though the speed was slower than through focused meditation. Thanks to this characteristic, Locke's mana growth had recently accelerated. The dimensional space was a unique dimension unique to Locke. Its maintenance, development, and expansion were partly due to the space's spontaneous absorption of surrounding energy and partly due to Locke's own mana. Of course, using potential points to directly expand the dimensional space was also possible, but this was too cost-effective for Locke, and he had long since stopped. Just now, as the dimensional space suddenly grew, its natural expansion rate more than doubled. All of this happened after Locke placed a miniature galaxy into the dimensional space. This discovery suddenly sparked an idea in Locke's mind. The miniature galaxy is blocked by the Kingdom of Acheron's technology. Even if I seized it, I wouldn't be able to utilize its resources. That's why I am considering trading it with the Kingdom of Acheron for something I want. But no matter what I ultimately gain, its ultimate value won't be comparable to the miniature galaxy itself, which contains countless planets. With this thought in mind, Locke checked the mission again and saw that it had been completed after he killed the Zerg Vanguard. His idea immediately seemed feasible. FBI, everyone gather outside. It's very dangerous here. Just then, a voice called out from the side. The voice was familiar to Locke. It was the newly appointed Agent J. Locke. Jay spotted Locke and ran over, demanding, "Why are you here?" Locke pointed at the Zerg Vanguard and the corpse of King Acheron. Before he could explain, K, breathlessly running over, was older and much less physically fit than Jay. "Is this the Zerg Vanguard?" K asked tentatively, looking at Locke. "Yes," Locke nodded. K then approached King Acheron, frowning at the figure in the cockpit. "An Ankle? How could there be Ankle on Earth? Could it be that the Zerg Vanguard is here just for him?" He lifted King Acheron from the cockpit and asked, "The Zerg are targeting him." "Why, he's King Acheron," Locke said. "What?" K gasped, looking at Locke. "The Zerg killed him." King Acheron's wounds are just ordinary bullet holes. "He was killed by human robbers who happened to show up," Locke shrugged. K gasped, his body trembling. The Zerg and the Ankle Federation have always been at odds, with high-ranking members killed at the hands of the other. But if this incident was perpetrated by an Earthling, the situation would be completely different. This wasn't something that could be explained by a simple diplomatic dispute. It wouldn't be surprising if the Ankle Federation, in their rage, destroyed Earth. No, this was done by a Zerg Vanguard, K insisted firmly, regaining his composure. He glanced at Locke. "You're not planning on using a memory eraser on me, are you?" Locke said with a smile. "I need to make sure rumors don't spread." K stared at Locke and pulled out a memory eraser. "It's for both of our benefit, so you've made up your mind." Locke remained expressionless. He looked at K, who looked serious, and thought to himself that this mission seemed to be over. While it was a pity that there were still many good things in this world, preserving what he had gained was the most important thing. He could come back another time if he had the chance. "Don't worry, as long as you're willing." Just as he finished speaking, K suddenly realized Locke had vanished from his sight. "Hurry and find him. We must not let him escape." K didn't know how Locke had suddenly vanished, but he knew there was still much work to do. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 298 Lena. If that guy K hadn't tried to use the memory eraser on me, I'd have stayed longer. I still have over 200,000 federal dollars I haven't had time to spend yet. Returning to the world of American dramas, Locke felt a pang of regret. Recalling his time in Brazil, he looked at Lorraine. "Let's go back to the States. I've already booked a private jet." Lorraine had no objections, but simply inquired again about the mastermind behind her capture. Carla Yu Ying. Seeing Lorraine's persistence, Locke didn't hide it any further. "Yu Ying, is that Yu Ying?" "Yes, this is about to get interesting." "Leave it to me." Lorraine's eyes showed no sign of retreat. Instead, they showed a hint of eagerness, as if she were determined to fight back. Locke thought to himself, What a daring girl indeed. But if you think about it, she's already played tricks on the Russian bear and John Bull. Compared to that, the Ying family is nothing. However, considering that Carrot's subordinate, who previously mastered arc ballistics, must have similar experts within the Yang family, Locke felt it was best to offer her some assistance. After arriving at the airport and boarding a private plane, Locke produced a silver briefcase and placed it in front of Lorraine. What is this? Gene optimization fluid, 1 bottle per month for a year. It can slow aging and significantly improve physical fitness. It's safe and has no side effects. This sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, something developed by that research institute, Locke said with a smile as he watched him open the box and load the green liquid into the syringe. I'm the only one who knows the relevant technical information. Locke gestured to the spot beside him, motioning for Lorraine to sit next to him. With this, you'll greatly improve your strength, and it'll give me greater peace of mind. This was just an accident. I won't make the same mistake again. Lorraine was a man who never gave up. While exceptionally capable, she also had a certain pride. If it weren't for the magic, she wouldn't have obeyed Locke's orders. Puff, the syringe injected the gene optimization fluid into vein in Lorraine's shoulder. I just feel a little warm, nothing else, Lorraine said, stretching herself. The gene optimization solution will gradually improve your body's cells. The effects won't be felt immediately. Once you get back to New York, exercise more and you'll soon feel the benefits. Locke rinsed the syringe and returned it to the box. This is a year's supply. Just inject it on time, okay? I hope you're not lying. Sitting down across from Locke again, Lorraine felt the effects of the gene optimization solution gradually spread throughout her body. She felt a sense of comfort, like soaking in a hot spring, and a strange sense of anticipation welled up in her heart. The plane landed in New York, and Lorraine still had much to attend to. News of her faked death would soon reach the CIA, and there was still much to do. Locke returned to Wisteria Town alone, giving Lorraine the only single dose of gene optimization solution. He would need to make more. Because of their meditation practice, the gene optimization solution would have limited effect on Peggy, Hermione, Fleur, and Ashley, but the gene evolution solution would still have some effect. After all, strictly speaking, they hadn't practiced meditation for very long. Only Peggy had mastered the latest version. And it was still far from perfect. Hermione and the others hadn't even fully mastered it, so the improvements weren't as noticeable. Locke needed some time to sort out his gains from the Men in Black world, and he also needed to develop the superchip in artificial intelligence. So, for the next period of time, unless he encountered a particularly satisfying mission, Locke planned to remain in the American TV world. 6 months passed, and Locke gradually produced genetic optimization and evolution fluids, attempting to use magic to create a STEM chip. After all, modern industrial equipment couldn't achieve such high precision. Thanks to his exceptional mental strength and electromagnetic control abilities, everything went smoothly. Locke also wrote his own rudimentary artificial intelligence program, Lena, which he fully controlled. Having a portable artificial intelligence greatly facilitated Locke's life, but rather than using a newly created STEM chip implanted in his brain, it used the chip and core to create a personal wristwatch-like computer, with Lena on board. While Lena, an AI, was only rated as elementary by the cosmic civilizations of the Men in Black, she was actually more powerful than many AIs in film and television. Her STEM chip, in particular, gave her immense computing power. Connect to the network and test a performance first, Locke commanded, sitting leisurely in his chair. Okay, Mr. Locke, initiate the network connection and hack into the nearest computer terminal. We've already completed the initial intrusion, controlling 6 satellites, 117 state-owned enterprise servers, and 26 government servers. Do you want to continue? Locke wasn't surprised. Although Lena was only the size of a wristwatch, her chip's performance far surpassed that of supercomputers with massive servers. Coupled with the technological gap, it was a complete dimensionality reduction attack. As long as Locke is willing, the American TV world's network holds no secrets. Continue hacking, monitoring global networks, gathering information. I'm planning to expand into the banking and media industries, analyzing information that might be beneficial to me and providing investment advice. Okay, Mr. Locke, Lena said, quickly taking action. Locke had no plans for a hacker attack or a cyber virus frenzy. He simply intended to gather information on governments and corporations around the world, without being detected, to smooth out his career in the American TV world and maximize his profits. This would be incredibly easy for Lena, an AI at least 100 years ahead of the American TV world, and Locke could continue to upgrade her. After giving the order, Locke also considered arranging for Lorraine to be implanted with a STEM chip. This would not only greatly enhance Lorraine's abilities but also allow Locke to monitor Lorraine's movements through Lena. He could also select a few of the other professional managers who help Locke manage his assets and implant them. This way, Locke would have less to worry about, maintaining control over his business and even becoming a hands-off manager. Locke could use the saved time to practice magic or learn the technology he had acquired from the Men in Black world. His previously compressed leisure time finally became more plentiful. Thinking of this, Locke felt a surge of joy. He went to the study and said to Peggy, who was also studying alien technology, "You've been busy studying lately. Do you want to go out and relax, go out and play?" Peggy tilted her head slightly and thought. "Okay, what are your plans?" Chapter 299. My level is very high. After gathering Ashley and the others, they discussed the matter and ultimately chose to go to the horse races. This choice was quite a coincidence. After a long discussion, the girls couldn't agree on a solution. Coincidentally, Locke received a call from Caroline. Caroline's racing coach was attending a race, and naturally, she wanted to show her support. Since she hadn't seen Locke in a while, she wanted to invite him along. Peggy and the others, who had been discussing the matter for a while, overheard Ashley, and the plan was sealed. Caroline was delighted but also a little frustrated by the yes. She had originally planned to invite Locke alone, but while Locke agreed, several other people, all beautiful women, also wanted to come. It wasn't that she thought Locke couldn't handle it, after all, she had seen it before, but who wouldn't enjoy a sweet date with someone else? Regardless, Caroline agreed and even airlifted her own horse, Chestnut, along, as Locke had promised them a ride together. Chestnut was a warmblood horse given to her by her father. And it was a Dutch warmblood of the finest pedigree. Locke had once taken Caroline along to experience his riding skills, and Caroline had been fascinated by equestrianism ever since. After they disembarked, they saw a stretched Lincoln parked nearby. Caroline, perched near the headlights, spotted Locke and waved, calling out, "Locke, we can just go there on our own. There's no need to come pick us up. I just wanted to see Locke sooner." Since there were so many people, I found this car specifically. Caroline trotted over to Locke and hugged his arm, causing Ashley to roll her eyes. "Let me introduce you. This is my equestrian teacher, Rebecca. She's a rider who's chosen equestrianism as her first choice since she was little. She started training in 3rd grade and is currently ranked 204th in the world. We're here to cheer her on." "Hello," Locke said, smiling as he greeted the fiery blonde. He took a look at her. She looked to be in her early 20s. "Hello, Mr. Locke. I've heard Caroline mention you so many times, but today's our first time meeting." Rebecca smiled and shook Locke's hand. "Just call me Locke," Locke said with a smile. "You're French, right?" "Caroline didn't tell you?" Rebecca asked, somewhat surprised. "She didn't tell me about you. I just heard it from your accent. You speak with a romantic air." "Haha, you're right. If you ever go to Paris, I can be your guide, then I'll take it seriously." After a few casual words, the group got into the car. Caroline sat down next to Locke. She was wearing a floral retro dress, topped off by a pink faux blazer that made her legs look very long. Being surrounded by so many girls would be a thrill for most men. The girls gathered together and soon engaged in a lively conversation. Locke only occasionally interjected, mostly just listening. One hand held the red wine prepared in the car refrigerator, the other resting naturally on Caroline's floral dress, appearing relaxed and comfortable. "In terms of equestrianism, the person I admire most is Gregory. He won the European Championship in 1982 and was one of the champions of the 1991 Olympic equestrian triathlon." Since they were going to watch horse racing, the girls naturally turned to horse racing topics. "By the way, Locke, do you have any equestrian heroes?" "No, I admire myself the most," Locke said with a smile. "Why?" "Because I'm number 1 in equestrianism." "Last? I remember you registered, but you haven't participated in a single competition yet," Caroline said with a smile. "Haven't you experienced my riding skills?" Locke smiled meaningfully. Seeing the smile on Locke's face, Caroline shyly replied, clearly not thinking about serious equestrianism. Rebecca didn't catch anything. Hearing that Locke had also registered, she said, "In that case, Why don't you join the tour? Today is the final registration deadline." Seeing Locke smile without replying, she added, "Don't worry. It doesn't matter if you don't do well. Just think of it as a chance to relax. Locke, my level is very high. If I participate, the championship will definitely be mine. In that case, then I'll join." "I've always thought Locke was amazing," Ashley chimed in. "Looks like there's someone who understands me." Locke smiled and looked at Peggy. "What do you think?" "It's fine to join. We're here to have fun anyway. Watching you perform is a good way to relax and have some fun." Peggy hadn't known Locke was also proficient in equestrianism. She just thought watching Locke compete seemed quite interesting. Locke only had a superficial understanding of equestrianism, but his extraordinary mental strength allowed him to better connect with the horses and make them perform better. "In that case, I'll give you Lee Bayo and let you compete," Caroline chimed in. It's settled. Locke didn't mind at first, but seeing Fleur and Hermione seemed quite excited, he nodded in agreement. "It's settled then. I'll take you to the equestrian arena to register when we get there." Caroline was excited and told the driver to go to the arena first, waiting for Locke to register before heading to the hotel. The arena was quite large, with 8,000 square meters of competition space and seating for over 4,000 spectators. The driver parked the car in the parking lot. When they arrived, Rebecca said she wanted to see her horse first and left. Caroline dragged Locke to register first, then led the group to the stables. Caroline's father doted on his only daughter. When she said she wanted to learn equestrianism, he bought her a top-notch warmblood horse and even paid Rebecca to teach her, even though Caroline herself had no intention of competing, more of a hobby than a passion. Lee Bayo was a reddish-brown stallion. Locke had seen him several times before, even riding with Caroline. When Locke arrived at the stable to take him, he would occasionally stamp his forehooves on the ground, whinnying cheerfully. "He's so beautiful," Fleur exclaimed. "Like red satin. His name is Lee Bayo. I've raised him since he was little, but he's happier to see Locke than me now." Caroline had clearly noticed Lee Bayo's joy, and a hint of a snack lingered in her eyes. Just then, Rebecca approached with her horse, a magnificent white-dappled stallion. She whistled, "Hamburger, say hello to everyone." The horse whinnied, startling the girls. Rebecca then introduced him. "Hamburger is the finest Hanoverian warmblood horse in England." As she spoke, she pressed her cheek against Hamburger's. Hamburger closed his eyes in delight. In the horsemanship, horses are treated with the utmost care, even more than they are with humans, to the point of feeling that horses are more valuable than humans. Of course, if we talk about the price of these horses, it is true that horses are more expensive than people. After all, in the United States, $100,000 can make many people do hard work, and the cost of raising these horses for a month is not much less than this number. Chapter 300. You are really awesome. Hamburger looks so good, Ashley said to Rebecca, moving forward to pet him. But Hamburger jerked his head, pushing Ashley's hand away. "Be careful. Hamburger's close to Rebecca, but he's incredibly aggressive with everyone else," Caroline said. "He won't let anyone ride him except Rebecca. I tried so hard to coax him, always feeding him treats, but he still ended up throwing me." "Really?" The girls, who had been tempted to pet him, hesitated. "Do you want to try?" Rebecca smiled at Locke. Locke smiled and scrambled forward to mount. "Hey, I was just kidding." "Be careful," Rebecca said, quickly grabbing the reins. After a moment, she released the reins, a little surprised. "It's strange he didn't lose his temper. It's a tacit understanding." Locke smiled from his horse. He leaned over to Hamburger's ear and whispered something, and then Hamburger slowly began to walk. The horses used in competitions are typically top tier. These warm-blooded horses are specially mixed and trained for competition, and are intelligent and easily understand human interaction. Rebecca came from a wealthy family and had never lacked money. Hamburger was understanding and accompanied her to victory, so she never felt she had lost out by spending tens of millions on Hamburger. She was surprised to find that Locke had actually earned Hamburger's approval. He watched with some surprise as Locke rode Hamburger around the edge of the arena, feeling a sense of harmony. A sprinkler truck was spraying the field, and the sand and fiber used in the field were carefully selected. The sand was even specially airlifted in quartz sand, with a certain amount of shredded fabric added to prevent the horses from falling during competition. The stables where the horses rested were kept at a constant temperature of 20 to 30 degrees Celsius year-round, and each participating horse had a dedicated nutritionist and professional medical staff. It's safe to say that the horses here live a happier life than most humans in the world. Stopping in front of the girls, Locke dismounted and gently patted Hamburger on the head as an encouragement. He then went over to comfort the approaching chestnut before riding him for another lap, a preliminary acclimatization exercise. Back at the horse show, Caroline and Rebecca brought over several horses to teach Ashley and the others how to ride. Locke rode Libeo in a circle without shouting or shaking the reins. As if understanding his intention, Libeo stopped. Rebecca couldn't help but stare at him in amazement. In modern equestrian circles, even the most arrogant competitors, those who worship their horses like gods and cultivate a deep bond with them, cannot break away from the reins. Locke didn't do this, yet he was able to work so well with Libeo, which amazed her. She was an expert in this field and couldn't help but ask, Mr. Locke, how do you make him know to stop? It's just intuition. Libeo is very smart, Locke said with a smile. This explanation obviously didn't sit well with Rebecca, who had been trained in modern professional equestrianism. Caroline, on the other hand, was used to it. They chatted for a while, and then, suddenly, an uninvited guest came running towards them on horseback. Caroline was the first to see the man and frowned, saying, "It's Mike, Mike." Fleur couldn't help but ask. "He's Rebecca's suitor. He's been pestering her relentlessly, always thinking he's right," Caroline explained. Rebecca's face wasn't looking too good either. "He's a little too arrogant. He thinks he's very charming. He always says I secretly like him. If our families weren't old friends, I would have taught him a lesson long ago. Let's go. Don't bother with him, lest we spoil the fun." As they were about to leave, Mike came galloping over on his horse. Even as he approached, at his urging, the horse under his crotch suddenly accelerated and sprinted towards them. Watching him coldly as he charged, Locke knew he was clearly doing it on purpose. Fleur quickly pulled Hermione out of the way, while Ashley and Peggy retreated quickly. Rebecca screamed, "God, what are you doing? Stop!" Mike remained unmoved, bobbing up and down on his horse. Locke could see a playful expression in his eyes, as if he wanted to embarrass himself. Is this jealousy? From Rebecca and Caroline's earlier exchange, Locke could roughly guess that they were trying to scare him into fleeing in disgrace, thus embarrassing him. After all, he was the star of the show. "Locke, get away from this guy," Rebecca warned him as she backed away, not wanting him to get hurt. "It's just a minor incident," Locke smiled and gently patted Libeo's neck. The next moment, Libeo, carrying Locke, soared out to meet the charging figure. "What are you doing? Stop!" Caroline couldn't help but cry out. At that moment, Locke charged forward, seemingly on the verge of a collision, but in reality, the two horses missed by a hair's breadth. Just as the horses' stirrups clashed, Locke effortlessly extended his arm and lifted Mike upside down. The riderless grey warmblood neighed for a long time before coming to a stop. Locke then threw Mike to the ground with a backhand. This was a tactic used by cavalry in ancient warfare, designed to capture an enemy leader from his horse. The force of the throw was carefully chosen, incapacitating the enemy and making it easier for the infantry to capture him. Mike fell to the ground, sending up a cloud of dust, unable to rise for a moment. To Rebecca and Caroline, Locke seemed to have performed a magical act, riding his horse towards the galloping Mike, then expertly catching him and throwing him to the ground. The entire process was incredibly smooth, as if it had been rehearsed 1,000 times. "Oh, God," Rebecca gaped, her mouth wide open. Caroline, her hands clasped to her chest, her eyes sparkling. If the situation hadn't been inappropriate, she would have pounced on him. Looking at the young man lying on the ground and unable to get up, Locke got off his horse, stood beside him and asked coldly, "Is this all you can do, you?" Mike seemed a little confused by this. Should he have rushed over, and the other party dodged in a panic, making a fool of himself? How did it turn out like this? FXXK, in the end, he could only spit out this word fiercely, staring at Locke's appearance, as if he wanted to remember him. Then, something happened that made him even more upset. Rebecca ran over directly, threw herself on Locke, hugged him tightly, and said excitedly, "Oh my God, you were really great just now. How did you do that?" End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.